This guy has countless tricks. He can tame an ancient dragon, which with one strike can destroy an entire mountain. He can quadruple the strength of his ally. He can accelerate plant growth and much more. But before I spoil the fun, let's start the story. The hero's mother held him in her arms, wondering what he would be like when he grew up, and he proudly declared that he would become a superhero. The father said that it would take a lot of hard work, and just wanted him to become a good person, someone who lends a shoulder when others are in trouble or suffering, like the person from the poem he holds. But when he grew up, after 10 years in that company, he suddenly found himself without a job. The hero was surprised about what his boss Hashikawa was even talking about. He was only 20. Hashikawa's side explained that it was just a simple restructuring. The company is currently in a difficult situation. But Hiro gave up his days off and worked endless overtime hours. He can't just throw this at him out of nowhere. But whining will change nothing. Is he hinting that he will bite the hand that fed him? The hero will always be grateful to Hashikawa. When his father died in that accident and he was still preparing for exams, Hashikawa took him to work on time, and he knows that only thanks to this he was able to support his sister. Before he died, his father spoke of him with such pride, saying that his son was hardworking and brilliant, and even in high school his knowledge could compare to the CEO of a large corporation. If the hero wants to put his knowledge to use in this situation, then he will probably have to be born again to have at least some chance. Hiro firmly squeezed his hand and with sincere gratitude bowed to Hashikawa for the last 10 years. Hashikawa stood up and hurried. He had an important meeting, so he asked Hiro to fill out the document and leave it on the table after Hiro fulfilled the request. This hero left the company building. Inside the building, he suddenly received a message from his sister. She wrote that she got a job, so now she can stand on her own feet, and thanked him for taking care of her for so long. The hero smiled and sighed. His father always said that he should be grateful for every kindness and always repay the services received. He will do so, and the good he does will return to him, and it is not necessary for it to return because he wants to become exactly such a person, strong and kind. The book in his hands was the compass that his parents left to guide him through life, and at that very moment, he noticed a child running across the street. When the truck passed by, he immediately rushed to the boy and pushed him aside. It so happened that instead of someone else, it hit him. The hero accepted his fate and tried to live honestly, never blaming anyone, just enduring, and this is what he got for it. Yet he is simply glad that the child is okay. He can say this from the bottom of his heart and is sure that this is the reason. He recalled a poem from the book his parents left him. With a strong body, unafraid of snow or summer heat, always quietly smiling, without greed and never succumbing to anger, eating 4 bowls of brown rice, some miso, and a few vegetables a day. Always putting himself last in everything, watching, listening, and understanding, and then never forgetting. He lived in a small hut with a thatched roof in the shade of a pine grove. If someone in the south was dying, go and tell them there is nothing to fear. If a sick child in the east, go and care for them. If a tired mother in the west, go and carry her bag of rice. If quarrels or lawsuits in the north, tell them to stop this nonsense. He cries during droughts, and everyone just calls him a fool. He was neither praised nor considered a burden. This is the person he thinks he has become. He was once called Hiro Ajima, but now he is completely different. On the day he was reincarnated into another world, he found himself a 13-year-old hero of Rotwell. This is the Rotwell territory within the kingdom of Asgard. He was born the elder son of twins in the ruling Rotwell family. They are a great noble house, one of the 2 shields of the royal knights. Unlike his previous life, this life is filled with all possible luxuries. But as the heir to this domain, he cannot simply rejoice there as a reason. At that moment, the second son of the Rotwell family appeared nearby. Rotwell, son of Mari, and asked what he was looking at. He just shrugged and replied that it was nothing, just the city has been troubling him lately. The celebration of their birthday is in full swing, so Mari-san wondered what there was to worry about. It was all because of the incredible number of trade carts. The hero asked Mari's son to look closely. All those carts belonged to merchants who came from beyond their land. And if you look carefully, you can see, when they leave, the carts are empty. This means that the flow of goods through their territory has completely stopped. If this continues, people here simply will have nothing to live on. The chief maid also complained. Due to the shortage and rise of local prices, she can no longer even get the most necessary items. But Mari's son countered. Because of the cataclysm in the year of their birth, their fields yield twice as fast. That is why they can only collect half of the usual taxes. This very assumption turned out to be the problem. Mari's son scratched the back of his head and thought that all this was too complicated for him. All the heroes say only one thing: if nothing changes, something terrible will happen. And until that happens, he must save his people from these suffocating taxes as the elder son. He is the only one who can do it. Soon the gods will grant him the divine oracle and power in governance and military affairs, and with the knowledge and experience from his past life, he is confident that he can change the course of events. This oracle is only the first step. Mari's son rushed to run, urging Hiro to hurry to the church. If they are late, they might miss the oracle ceremony, and they definitely did not want that, and he was smiling broadly, looking at Hiro. But when he turned his back, he clenched his teeth in resentment. In the cathedral of the Holy Church, in the Chamber of Oracles, Lord of the Rotwell house, Oliver Rotwell, stood next to the high priest and sternly scolded them both for being late, and Mari's son sincerely apologized. They had talked so much that they lost track of time. Oliver approached Hiro and stated that he lacked the posture of a true heir, reminding him that it was precisely today that the heir's oracle determined the future of their family. The divine oracle, a revelation from the gods themselves, descending at the moment a person becomes an adult and appearing before them in the form of a sacred text. Pavitri was destined to receive 4 revelations, 2 about power and 2 about military might. The high priest finally began the oracle ritual and commanded them to open the sacred texts and raise their prayers. The hero opened the book, and behind him appeared the ghostly figure of an angel. The hero closed his eyes as his countless scrolls scattered around him. The high priest froze in amazement. He saw that he had received such a powerful revelation. Then he immediately began to decipher their meaning. There are 2 texts about governance. It seems their harvest will continue to be abundant. And regarding this, is there some trick? Hiro asked in surprise what kind of revelation this was, Gacha, or some new military writing, but the high priest had seen nothing like it and decided to use the revelation to discern its true nature. He activated the all-seeing eye, but within a moment groaned in pain. And he collapsed to the ground, as if the text itself repels the gaze of God. He stood up and told Oliver how serious this matter was. Perhaps his heir was taken by a demon. If so, Oliver asked what would happen to their position in the kingdom, and the high priest believed that with such a development their lineage would be destroyed. Oliver pondered, is there anything that can be done? And the high priest advised him to send the hero to the distant border and appoint a new heir. The choice is harsh, but he sincerely believed it would be better this way. At that moment, Mari's son shouted to his father, insisting that the very thought of Hiro as the eldest son was a mistake, and Oliver was already about to scold him. Towards him, but suddenly stopped, seeing the scrolls in Mari's son's hands. Let the texts and the heir themselves receive this. There is one more scroll that Mari-san asked the high priest to review. Before us is the sacred text of the Maxwells, their sword of protection, and it is a true miracle. With this discovery, Oliver's dream of independence for their territory was within arm's reach. He firmly grabbed Marison by the shoulders and praised him for a job well done, just as he expected from his firstborn. Hearing this, Hiro indignantly objected that he was the eldest son, but froze, seeing on the faces of his father and brother expressions as if they felt disgust towards him. If they just banish the hero now, it will stain their names. So Mari's son proposed to take him into the family and give him control over some territory, because it was clear that he was interested in politics. The hero could not come to terms with this. But regarding this, his father Oliver had already decided. The hero could not believe it. Was his father really serious? Since Hiro will become Marison's adopted brother, he believes that this should be land that cannot be entrusted to a mere subordinate. So Oliver decided, let Vilewood become the hero's domain. The hero clenched his hand, a habit from a past life, before kneeling down and taking on the duty to govern that vile forest. Oliver was clearly worried about his actions, but decided not to show it. The high priest finally confirmed the Rotwell family's right to the oracle. Oliver passed by the hero. They too would have to prepare for the banquet to celebrate that the heir was successfully identified. He called Mari's son, but before leaving, Mari's son sat down to be at the hero's level. Since this would be their last chance to talk, he might as well say it. He always hated Hiro because everyone fussed over him just because he was born a few minutes earlier. Mari-san smiled warmly and patted Hiro on the head, although his words struck straight to the heart. Before standing up and saying goodbye, the hero also stood up and said that this was not their last meeting. Even in this world, his inner compass did not waver. Everything begins right here. His life as the ruler of this land begins now. He carries a huge backpack. The hero was making his way through the forest, and it was clear that he was starting to get lost. If it continues like this, everything will turn out exactly as Mari's son said. He must reach that territory as soon as possible. First of all, his territory, that treacherous forest, they say. It is a harsh land adjacent to areas teeming with monsters, where neither trade nor agriculture truly take root. Although he lives a new life, he has a lot of knowledge from the previous one. It will come in handy to save his suffering people, and if necessary, he has a last resort. So as he was walking, the hero suddenly noticed a wounded man leaned against a tree and felt that something was wrong, and approached a woman who was breathing heavily to ask if she was okay. He sharply shook her by the shoulder and asked if she could hear him, but when she did not respond, he decided to move her. The hero laid her down on the ground and saw a deep wound on her back. This was not something a novice could handle, and there was no doctor nearby. He rummaged through his backpack, hoping to find at least something useful. Here it is. He grabbed the elixir. With it, he can save her. He uncorked the bottle with a loud click and brought it to the woman's lips, helping her drink. This is the elixir that his grandfather gave him in honor of his birth, no matter the injury or illness. One sip, and he will fully recover. Amazing, a true magical potion. This bottle is so valuable that it would be enough for a nobleman to live in luxury all his life. It is his only possession and last chance if managing the territory reaches a dead end. But he remembered a poem from a book he read in a past life and decided to help the woman. When the woman swallowed the elixir, Master the hero's blessing activated, Nightingale, which quadruples healing magic, and Divine Hands, which also enhance healing. Thanks to these two blessings, the woman's wound began to heal rapidly. The hero sighed with relief. It was an incredible effect. No wonder, having spent all his savings, he noticed the book from afar. On the decoration of the cover, there was some kind of symbol, and when he looked closer, it turned out that not only the woman's body was erased, it could be some skill, for example, good deeds or divine revelation. And so be it. For now, it seems that her life was saved, but everything else except the body is a complete mess. So he decided, while he still can, he will take care of it himself. Eventually, the woman finally woke up. He kept wondering where she had been. She turned aside and was surprised to hear Hiro ask how her body felt. She noticed that her hood was gone, and her body was covered, and looking at Hiro, asked, "What were you doing while I was asleep?" He was just fixing her torn hood and returned it to her, and asked if he was the one who saved her. Hiro introduced himself and explained. He said he was heading to the territory straight ahead, but on the way he came across her. She was lying unconscious and badly wounded. There was no doctor nearby, so he treated her with the medicines he had with him, but she did not trust him. She does not trust him. People catch half-humans and turn them into slaves, so she suspects that he is either a slave trader or a member of a band of robbers. The Rotwell family is one of the most noble houses serving the knights of the kingdom of Asgard, so it is impossible to imagine someone of such rank being here without any servant. It cannot be that there exist medicines that could heal such a deep wound. She was interrupted at the moment. She noticed a bottle rolling on the ground. The decoration and coat of arms immediately showed that it was an empty elixir bottle, and it was genuine. The hero had only one bottle, so he was simply glad that it worked. The woman seemed to calm down and wondered why he was wasting such an expensive potion on a beastman he didn't even know. Hiro asked if it was strange to help someone who was about to die, and they say that the elixir is actually not worth that much compared to the value of life. The woman looked at him with surprise before bursting into laughter. She was seeing for the first time how a nobleman says such things with such a serious face, and he himself was not sure if he could still be called a nobleman. Due to certain circumstances, he had to leave his family, so he was temporarily made an adopted heir and put in charge of the territory ahead. She was in a similar position. She was also in this forest because she was considered a disgrace to her clan. Her name is Amelia from the Varkadir tribe. In their clan, it is customary to always repay debts, but how to repay the debt for the elixir she has no idea. At that moment her ears twitched and, forcing her to turn around, the hero asked, "What happened?" Amelia replied that enemies were nearby. These were not the ones who wounded her. Hers, she's talking about those hiding behind the bushes. When those cutthroats came out, they clicked their tongues. When they first noticed Hiro, they decided he was just some spoiled noble's son, lonely, and no one even imagined that a beast servant stood beside him. They were bandits. From the tone of the man ahead, the heroes instantly understood they were hunting him. Amelia asked the hero to allow her to start earlier and gradually repay. She will distract their attention. He must seize this chance and break free. The heroine doubted, could she really handle such a number alone? And she did not think she could. The Warkadir tribe is famous for martial valor, but she is one of the weakest in the clan, so she has almost no chance against the bandits. Yet she will buy him enough time to escape. She dashed forward. Do heroes really stop her from behind? Meanwhile, the gang is ready to fight back. The man in front with black hair raised his fist. He was about to strike. But as soon as she activated Danger Sense, an ability that detects any threat in all 360 degrees around, Amelia dodged lightning fast, grabbed his wrist, and sharply pushed him to the ground. She is a proud warrior of the tribe with cat ears and hardly resembles those spoiled domestic creatures. The bandits think to themselves, she is alone, let's surround her, and even if she is from the Warheart and Cat Ear tribe, it doesn't matter. The blonde guy along with the guy with the mohawk suddenly jumped up and attacked her from behind. She managed to dodge using three-dimensional maneuvering, which quadruples the user's sharp acceleration, climbed onto a tree branch, and the bandits below started complaining. But she didn't even let them finish, instantly dropped down and kicked them in the heads. The fat guy remained the only bandit and was still foolish enough to attack. Amelia swiftly dodged his fist and struck back herself, sharply turning his head aside. But he still pretended to be tough and mocked her weak cat-like strike. So he raised her fist, preparing to hit again, and Talstun instantly covered his face. But instead, Amelia hit him in the balls, and it caused 1,000 harms. She begged the hero to flee as quickly as possible. Despite her strength, she could not knock them down no matter how many blows she dealt. Even if she says so, all the enemies are already lying unconscious. Throwing Amelia off balance, Zero laughed and enthusiastically praised her strength, calling her weak was too modest, but it was strange. Her movements seem sharper than usual. More precisely, she is frighteningly stronger. Maybe it's some side effect of the elixir. No elixirs do not increase the level of technique mastery. Suddenly someone's hand wrapped around Hiro's shoulder. A man who unexpectedly approached thought that he might have some divine blessing for taming beasts or something like that. Amelia advised Hiro not to move him. That man was truly dangerous. Hiro asked what she meant. She explained that she did not feel his presence at all and did not hear any sound. Even with the divine blessing of the battle cat, the sense of danger, which allows them to sense and catch everything around. The man was fascinated by her talent, but warned her not to get conceited. After all, even people, if they train well, can do such things. Instantly, he was behind her, carrying Hiro. Emilio asked with interest what he was going to do with them, and he replied that, of course, he would handle everything properly. He turned to the bandits, sharply asked how much longer they intended to lie there, and sternly ordered them to stand up. They stood up and thought that their boss had come to save them. Their confidence sharply surged, threatening Hiro and Amelia, but before they could finish speaking, their boss was respectfully bowed before the two to apologize. The Hiro and Amelia were confused by the sudden turn of events. Here he is Smirnov, the leader of the local bandits. They call themselves noble thieves, and they have one unwritten rule: never to touch peaceful people. Black-haired bandit complained that because of this they were so poor that they didn't even have money for food. They would die, eat weeds, and drink vodka every day. Smirnov stood up and hit himself on the head. He refused to live in a way that would make him ashamed before the sky. This is how the Smirnov family lives. Watching over the discipline of his people is his duty, and he would have apologized properly, but he didn't have a single kopeck. So he suggested that instead they agree to something else. Smirnov handed Hiro a scroll, and he looked at him confused, not understanding what it was. He opened it and suddenly realized that it was a wanted poster of Smirnov, the very one who turned out to be the Holy Sword, and for whom there was an S-rank bounty. The reward was even more expensive than the price of the elixir, and the title Sword Saint was the most valuable title for any swordsman. The bandits protested and asked to be allowed to take responsibility instead, but he sharply rejected them. He decided that such filth as they were was not needed by the Smirnov family, so he drove them out and ordered them to return to their village and become farmers. As they were leaving, he barked that they should not even dare to show their faces to him again. At that very moment, Smirnov and Amelia felt that something was wrong, and he immediately shouted for them to come back. But it was already too late, and they were struck by a giant axe. Smirnov exclaimed in confusion. He looked back at the dead bodies of his gang that had fallen behind him before turning back to the giant M. Suddenly, a tiny Tor appeared. Amelia fell to the ground, and Smirnov looked at them sharply and asked what they were doing if they were already supposed to be fleeing from here. The Minotaur lunged at Hiro and Amelia, shouting incomprehensible words. It raised the axe. They were doomed if that thing hit them. He blocked the Minotaur's axe and firmly decided, I will not allow anyone else to die. Thinking that Hiro was a beast tamer, he asked if he had any divine blessing to calm the Minotaur, but it turned out Hiro was not one and had received no blessing. Well, apparently nothing can be done. It seems Smirnov must deal with this himself. He jumped aside, barely dodging the Minotaur's axe, and landed next to two others. He ordered Hiro to take Amelia and leave while they still could, but Hiro refused to abandon him alone. But he immediately shuddered when he heard Smirnov's next words. A man must risk his life when it is important, but a real man knows when to retreat. Hiro paused for a moment and earnestly asked Amelia to go find Smirnov's people to help. But Amelia did not listen. She muttered to herself that they had been following her all the way there, and if it continued, everyone would die. The heroine finally put all the pieces together and realized her injury was from that minotaur. She apologized and asked him to forget her and run. Suddenly they are interrupted by Smirnov, asking what they are doing instead of running. This confrontation will end soon. Suddenly the minotaur began to breathe deeply. Press with your nail and release, unleash the fiery breath. The hero stood before Amelia and shouted, "Run!" He became her shield himself. It seems he will die again in this life, saving someone, probably not such a bad way to go. When the fire hit the hero, he was surprised to realize he did not feel the heat. But even if he can block the flames, the situation will not change. Something must be done. His gaze fell on that book from before. Here it is. That divine blessing, which even the high priest could not decipher, is the only blessing he has. He has no idea what it does, how it works, or if he can even activate it. He has no choice left. He will have to try, as the high priest said, even if it turns out to be dangerous. This is all he had. Everything revolves around potential. He froze, staring at his divine blessing, the divine blessing. He stumbled upon the divine tome lottery, a place where, through good deeds, self-sacrifice, and difficult trials, one can obtain the blessings of the gods, and he could not comprehend what this ability was, since all these blessings are recorded in a book and transformed into various treasures and powers. Wait, this is actually a trap. In his past life, he never won the lottery, no matter how many times he tried, but there was no time to hesitate. He awakened his divine blessing. The lottery of divine tomes. The book fell into his palm, and he thought in surprise what it could be. It felt like an innocent child. Here it is, the legendary tome of the divine lord of dragons. Did he just pull off something incredible? An egg wrapped in talismans suddenly popped out. Coming from the divine dragon duke, spin me. So this is the divine dragon egg, if so. So he asked the dragon inside to be born and protect them, and suddenly noticed a note stuck to the eggshell. The instructions warn him, the divine dragon matures late, so good conditions must be prepared for its hatching. It eats any meat, is most attracted to canned animals, and prefers people who are not angry. The hero was sweating profusely. This was too much. If it continued like this, they would all be destroyed. Soon he raised his eyes. He heard a voice warning, "Careful." He hadn't even taken a step yet, and an explosion sounded. Fortunately, Smirnov was able to protect them both with his body. When the smoke finally cleared, he asked them if everything was all right. When they suddenly felt the ground shake. It was an ancient dragon. Even Smirnov couldn't handle this, and taking on two at once was simply impossible. The ancient dragon angrily asked why the minotaur was making such a fuss when he was already grumpy from hunger. Apparently, the bovine part of the minotaur's body was scorched by someone's fiery breath, but it smelled strangely delicious, although it couldn't be eaten. He wrapped it with his tail around his neck and tossed it into the sky. If he couldn't eat it, he would simply burn it with dragon's breath, the roar of the divvy. Divine dragon, did he just save them? But does a dragon help a human? That's from legends. An ancient dragon, of course, yes. What does the proud dragon have to gain by helping a human? He came only because he sensed another dragon who. As if the presence itself came from the egg, he asked Hiro where he got it from, and Hiro explained that he didn't bring it, it somehow appeared on its own. In that case, the ancient dragon will take it to himself after all. Such a thing cannot just be left on the ground. This egg is the last memory of the late divine Duke Dragon, and ending up in human hands would be a disgrace for the entire dragon lineage. Then he turned to leave and reminded them not to forget he saved their lives, even if it happened by accident. But before he could fully turn away, the hero asked to be allowed to take care of that child himself, because it was a power granted to him by the gods. The ancient dragon cast a fierce look at him, and soon they heard a rumble. Smirnov stood before them and shouted to run while he held back the ancient dragon, as if he touched its reverse scales. The ancient dragon apologized. It was just his stomach growling. Due to an exquisite gourmet lifestyle, he had gained some weight. Just a sudden movement and his head spins, and his joints ache. So now he was in the middle of fasting. He didn't even have the strength to fly. Smirnov scratched his head. Seriously, what a disappointment. And just then they heard another roar. This time a sound burst from Amelia's stomach, and she embarrassedly apologized. As soon as Hiro felt safe, he suddenly became hungry, and Smirnov also suddenly got hungry. But in their stash only wild herbs and alcohol. Well, if possible, he had something in his bag. This is a magical artifact that passed down in the Smirnov family: meat for a whole pig, soy sauce, sugar, salt, and several herbs that warm the body. The hero was surprised to see soy sauce, which made the ancient dragon sniff the bottle and wonder if this sauce was really that impressive. The hero just smirked and asked them to leave it to him, promising that they would definitely not regret it. They sat surrounded by Smirnov's people. Tasting the hero's dishes, the ancient dragon and Smirnov were delighted and immediately asked what kind of dish it was. She asked indignantly and loudly what he just said. The heroes rejoiced they liked it. Amelia enthusiastically praised the texture of the hot pot ingredient and asked what it was. The hero indifferently lifted the slime and said that here it is. Because of this, Amelia spat out her food. He heard from the maid that it was edible. She taught him how to prepare it. He glanced sideways and it turned out to be quite tasty. There is plenty of slime around, so they can eat to their heart's content. Smirnov interrupted the conversation. He had long wanted to ask something to the two. It is so dangerous here that even adventurers avoid this place, and it is not a place for a nobleman to just take a walk, so what are they even doing here? The hero was walking to his plot ahead when suddenly he saw Amelia lying unconscious on the path. When Smirnov asked what happened, Amelia explained that she was called the disgrace of the clan, so it was like a test of strength or something like that. So she entered into a fight with a minotaur to test her strength. Well, you could say that. No wonder she was barely alive. Fortunately, the hero had a potion. Smirnov jumped up when he heard that Hiro used a potion on some unknown beast-like creature and immediately asked where he got such a rare thing. It was a gift from his grandfather. He turned out to be the eldest son of the Rotwell family, one of the most influential noble families in the country, so Smirnov assumed there was some story behind it. So it happened, Hiro did not receive the needed revelation from the gods, so the house went to his younger brother, and then he was adopted and made lord of the great forest. Actually, they just threw him out. This is a story Smirnov often heard among the nobility, but Hiro was lucky. If Hiro still had his head, he would have enough merits to reclaim the house. But Hiro did not plan to return to the family, and did not even want his own head. Smirnov doubted what he was saying. He was penniless, he wouldn't survive here, but the hero would rather remain poor than betray the one who saved his life. Seriously, he is too kind, that's all. He gets nothing from it. The hero is fine with that. Because he wants to be the one who extends a hand to those in need and gives happiness to others. Even more than himself. He is truly the kindest fool Smirnov has ever met. Then he asked Amelia if she would stay with the hero, and she answered, yes, in that case, she would like to gradually repay him for the elixir Smirnov all. He also decided to join his ranks. He and his people do twice as much physical work as anyone else, and when necessary, they also stand their ground in battle. Although now they are bandits, they once had principles, and he believes that under the hero's command they can still do good. Before accepting them, Hiro demanded a promise: no violence and no theft, and Smirnov easily agreed. They shook hands when the ancient dragons suddenly approached them, angrily complaining that they had been left out. The ancient dragon was so touched by the hero's cooking skills that he even began to consider entrusting him with the egg of the divine dragon duke. From now on they go into battle together, as long as he continues to prepare such delicious food. The hero sharply grabbed the claw of the ancient dragon and promised that next time he would cook something healthy. He did not even suspect that he had inadvertently awakened his blessing, which enhances life force. The body of the ancient dragon became light dizziness and joint pain disappeared, sensations sharpened, and he seemed to become 1,000 years younger. He would now eat 1,000 servings of pork with ginger, so he immediately set out to hunt the demonic boar. The ancient dragon flew upward, and the hero panicked. This is bad. It cannot be that they had so much seasoning for 1,000 servings. Smirnov could not believe it. Is that what worries him? He has a lot of hidden depths, but his kindness is bottomless, and that is for sure. From now on, life will become fun, and Smirnov eagerly awaits working with Hiro, the new boss. The hero was confused by this nickname. He is a lord, not some gang leader. But even before he could complain, the bandits had already gathered around and out of joy tossed him into the air. At that moment, two approached them, a man with black hair and a woman with a short haircut. The man greeted Smirnov and coldly said that he came to take his life. He was Richard, a bounty hunter from the underground guild. From Oliver's father, the hero had heard about the guilt of the underground world. They are a shadow group that takes on matters too dirty for the public eye: murders, robberies, kidnappings, and even torture, and Oliver says they also quietly pull political strings. Smirnov mocked Richard for how low he had fallen. Once he was a rising star of the Knights of the Holy City, and now he barely collects pennies hunting bandits. Richard looked at him with rage. What audacity he had to talk like that, and this was a man born a wealthy nobleman who became a bandit. The hero stood stunned, learning that Smirnov was actually a nobleman. Smirnov looked at him arrogantly. Look at him. Isn't it obvious he was born a nobleman? No, he is a bandit to the bone, no matter how you look at it. Amelia even thought he was some kind of wild one. Smirnov couldn't believe it. Weren't they on his side? These two would later do well to watch their backs. He clashed again with Richard. To be clear, he had not fallen out of favor or anything like that. He was tired of those noble scoundrels who filled their pockets with heavy taxes, so he broke all ties with his family and left. The reasons did not matter to Richard. He would die anyway, but it would not be so easy yet. Smirnov had a warrior from the cat-eared tribe on his side. The woman next to Richard lowered her hood, and two cat ears appeared from under it, like Amelia's. She recognized her voice and greeted her. She never imagined she would find her in such a place, so she asked if something was happening here, for example. They come to steal the clan's treasure, hidden in the ruins of the forest Artemis's bow. But probably she wouldn't have been able to get it. The weakest, most worthless disgrace of the village wouldn't have managed it. Nothing can be done. In the end, everything happened because of her short-sightedness. Back then, everyone spoiled her as if she were a wunderkind in archery, and also pretended to be important, teaching her to shoot. Who could have thought that her eyesight would suddenly fail? Watching her life rapidly go downhill was funny. And does she remember how she taught her combat skills? She couldn't even touch her with a finger and looked so disappointed. Just the thought of her face sends shivers down her spine. The hero was about to say something. But Smirnov stopped him, because there is a chance he will get out of here, not only with scratches. The Dungeon Guild is not some gang of show-offs. Here everyone is a fighter of the highest caliber, who could become a hero before the people, and only those who can single-handedly destroy an entire army are taken here. When he fought Richard at the sword tournament in the Holy City, the best he managed was to hit once, and that scoundrel is now even stronger than he was then. Then, as befits the holy sword, a cunning move. If he had rushed immediately, the hero would have been the first victim. But since they all cared so much about their comrades, she decided to give them a chance. One day she approached Amelia and challenged her, "Attack me just once. If she is lucky and manages to hit, maybe she can take her down." Smirnov gently stroked Amelia's head to reassure her that everything would be fine. The god of war was on their side. If this is her attack, she can finish it with one blow. But still Amelia hesitated because of her eyes. "Come on, girl, you just need a little confidence and prescription glasses." The hero called Amelia and offered her to try. If it doesn't work, they will run away with all their might. She finally responded with a smile to their support, thanked them, and resolutely decided to do everything possible. Then she step by step approached the woman from her tribe and raised her fist as if aiming a bow. What she needed to do hadn't changed. She will sharpen her gaze, focus her mind, calm her heart, and give everything she has. She will hit right in the very center. Amelia angrily looked at the smirk on the woman's face, and was puzzled when the woman pressed against her B and fell face down on the ground. She really couldn't hit her. It seems she is just a beast. Richard warned them, "Do not get cocky because of a lucky streak in a minor game. The difference in strength is staggering. From now on it will be a one-sided slaughter." Smirnov agreed. It seems so. The difference in strength is really huge. Richard grabbed the sword hilt and assured Smirnov that at least he would let him die as a swordsman, but before he could even boast, Smirnov appeared before him and punched him in the stomach. Smirnov really said that there is a difference in strength between us, but he actually meant only one thing: he is stronger. Richard coughed, clutching his stomach and calling him a coward. "Is that how bandits fight?" "Just in case, let him know. Smirnov is no longer a bandit. He found a master to whom he can entrust his sword." Then Richard thought that whoever agrees to take such a problematic saber as Smirnov's must be a fool of godlike level, and asked who that idiot was, to which he was answered, "Well, he is standing over there. Here he is, the new lord of the sinister grove, Hiro Rotwell." Well, Richard abruptly woke the woman and informed her about the change of plans. Now they are going to kill the hero. Hearing this, Smirnov shouted at the top of his lungs that he would never be able to eat ginger pork again. Something shone in the sky. And in just a second, the ancient dragon returned again. This made both of them wonder why the legendary monster was in such a place. The ancient dragon turned to Smirnov and growled, "Who the hell are these two?" And Smirnov replied that those two were going to kill the hero. They angered the ancient dragon. How dare they touch his dinner and even his comrade? Maybe he would make them his dinner instead. Both screamed in horror. Fear of falling, is that all? How pathetic. The hero thought that Smirnov had overdone it a bit, but if he hadn't gone that far, they would have just been chased again. Amelia was stunned. She hadn't thought her attack could have such power. Smirnov told him, right, the god of war is on their side. This sparked the hero's curiosity, and he asked what exactly this god of war was. Smirnov explained, "It's him, the hero. He has the divine gift to lead armies, doesn't he?" Hiro sharply opened the book. "Yes, there are several different types. Here is the true face of the god of war. It seems the effects overlap and make them ridiculously strong. The hero only dreamed of a little more personal power, but he is a lord, so the concept of power for him is completely different than for them. He had mythical swordsmanship. A sword sent one man against an army, Smirnov, and the princess archer Amelia, flawless, unstoppable, and capable of piercing even heroes, and he was also the bearer of the divine dragon's egg and a cursed ally of the ancient dragon. Here is the power of the Lord, who always puts others above himself. Hero comrades gathered by his tender heart are strong enough to challenge the army of an entire nation. In the office of Rothwell Estates, a woman stood before Oliver. They say since the day of the ceremony something was wrong here, so the merchant guild asked her to come and sort it out, but she never thought he would renounce his firstborn. Oliver doesn't care whether she is some great sage or whoever, she has no place in their family affairs. If she is done here, then she should leave. The woman, the great wise Lillian, waved a document and said that no one cares about this now. Oliver frowned and ordered her to tell those fools that from now on they will earn even more because they got rid of the loser, and he will be able to repay any debts at any time. Lillian snorted and headed for the door. Since this is probably her last visit, she will say something to him, the place where he is standing now. Now is the gateway to doom. Meanwhile in forest, Amelia warned the hero, get down and trample the wool. The wolf that jumped on him to attack. She froze in front of the hero and the dragon lord's egg, looked back, and asked if he was okay. It seems the terrifying wolves are hunting for the dragon lord's egg, so they need to run before the whole pack gathers, and at that moment, Hiro noticed a wolf approaching them. He grabbed them and pulled Amelia away before hitting it with a branch. The wolf was pushed back and it slowly retreated. The hero turned to Amelia and asked if she was okay. She answered affirmatively. She apologized for not noticing in time and thought she should have asked Smirnov for escort. Even if she had to force him otherwise, it wouldn't have worked out. The whole Smirnov team was lying around hungover, and he was the only one who could handle matters in the underground guild. The ancient dragon, meanwhile, also went hunting for a demonic boar for dinner. And more monsters will come next, honestly. Moving deeper with just the two of them is too risky. The hero unfolded the map. The Lord's manor is somewhere nearby behind it, so they should already see the village. Now Amelia noticed the roof and pointed there. Wonderful, they would finally be able to truly rest. At least that's what they thought. The mansion that greeted them was in ruins, almost like a haunted house. Although they had heard that this land was harsh, how could it be no villagers? Even the estate was in ruins. Amelia did not believe that the hero could be made the Lord of Ruins, and he agreed it would be a huge relief if that did not happen. Fortunately, it seemed this was the very place. For now, they decided to go inside. It was a ruin. Vines crawled over the stairs and entwined the windows. The building was completely in ruins. They only hoped that at least one room could still be used. They went around the estate and finally found a decent room, but a huge tree at the back had grown right into it. With that, it's strange this room was still clean, probably because the tree had shielded it from wind and rain, and that's why it might be in better condition than the rest. They could also safely lay eggs near the tree roots, make their base here. At that moment, the hero noticed something shining in the tree roots. Is it magic or fuel? Amelia wondered why such a thing could be here. The hero approached the fireplace and looked closely. It is hard to imagine someone spending the night in such a place, so probably someone stayed here overnight and left this. It should be gratefully used. A lot of time has passed, so he is a bit nervous, but he could use magic, even light the fireplace with fire magic. Amelia was stunned to learn that the hero also knows how to use fire magic. He studied it a little as part of noble education, but only knows simple everyday magic, and Amelia knew that saying this was rude. But nobles are really capable of sacrificing even their own children. The hero's father had to know the state of this land, and yet appointed him its lord. As if he wrapped a death sentence in a convenient lie, but Hiro interrupted her before she could finish speaking, saying that she must never be told anything like that. They say kindness returns sooner or later, and so do insults and lies. Even if it was just a conversation, since then she was tormented by guilt for lying, saying it was a test of skills. So he asked her to frankly say why the Minotaur is chasing her specifically. In fact, Amelia wants to get a divine artifact, the Bow of Artemis, which grants clairvoyance, and use it to save her sister. Divine insight allows one to sense where the target is regardless of distance, so even if her vision is weak, she can still use a bow. But what does she mean by saving her sister? Amelia explained that their parents died young from illness, and now only she and her sister remain. Just days ago, the village elite approached them with a request, and it was written that they should be taken like toys for their son and kept for life. Hiro thought it was madness, and she definitely had to refuse. She would refuse if she could. Alright, in the Varkadir tribe, a martial arts tournament is held once a year. Each family sends their representative, and the family's rank depends on their performance. So, since she took over the family, they have always been at the bottom. In their clan, the weak must obey the strong. To save her sister, she has no choice. She must prove her strength at the next tournament in a month. That is why she needs Artemis's bow. She needs clairvoyance. In archery, she is convinced. She has no equal, but her vision fails her. When it came to the test, she couldn't even handle the minotaur in the temple and completely failed. If this continues, the smile and future her sister deserves will be stolen from her. She's both sister and head of their family, so she must protect her no matter what happens. Hearing her determination, Hiro asked if she wanted to try something. Although it is not a divine revelation from an artifact, its magic can help. But he cannot guarantee success, nor can he tell her exactly what it will do. Amelia assured him that everything was fine and they could start. And then, at the hero's instruction, she closed her eyes and felt his hands gently holding her face. Wait, isn't this like in those fairy tales where the prince kisses the princess and the curse is lifted? Is that the kind of magic? She is completely unprepared for this. The hero told her to open her eyes, and as soon as she did, glasses suddenly appeared on her ones she was not used to. The hero explained with a smile that these were glasses, a thing that helps to see better. And Amelia asked how he carried those thin pieces of glass with him. Actually, they are made from magically created ice. He took a found metal frame and filled it with ice instead of glass. He designed it based on memories from a past life. Oh, alright, are we just throwing bombs now? However, he explained, it might not work perfectly, but if adjusted to her vision, she would be able to see normally. Drops of water began to fall, and the hero apologized, thinking the ice was starting to melt. In reality, those were Amelia's tears. His magic was amazing. Distant things were still a bit blurry, but now she truly saw her hands all over the room. She hugged the hero and thanked him. And one more thing, there is something else that she finally saw. It is his handsome face. The hero blushed, asking in surprise what she suddenly said. But Amelia sharply interrupted him. Just call me by my name without all these formalities. Her qualities, then she leaned closer to him. Their lips closer and closer. Girl, I thought you weren't ready for this. They were interrupted when suddenly a sound was heard. The sound of something breaking. And turned to the egg. The fabric that wrapped it tore and began to glow brightly. This light. This is the Book of Revelations. These were revelations about dragons, and he was stunned when the books began to merge into a new revelation. Divine Blessing is called Divine Dragon Master and helps to subdue dragon creatures, as well as triples the life force of allies. Cracks appeared on the agate. This Lord the Divine Dragon, before whom even the ancient dragon bowed, must be incredibly powerful. But a small child came out of the egg. The hero went to the backyard of the estate to wash his clothes. He sighed heavily, stood up to crack his back, and could not understand how it all came to this. Meanwhile, laughter of the little dragon echoed in the bathroom. In the room, Amelia barely held her in place and warned that it would hurt if the bubbles got into her eyes. But the little dragon said that the bubbles tickled her, so Amelia asked her to endure for now. The dragon looked back at her and asked if her dad the hero would not come in, and Amelia explained that the hero was very busy. He was sewing clothes and washing laundry. As soon as they mentioned the wolf, the heroes informed her through the door that their change of clothes was already ready. Hearing his voice, the boy rushed to the door. Amelia rushed after her to stop her, but she was already near the door and called Hiro, "Won't you join us in the bath?" The hero almost choked on his saliva, looking at Amelia's naked body with a flushed face. Amelia panicked, hit him on the chin, and asked him to forget that it ever happened. As soon as she realized what she had done, Amelia immediately apologized. The hero did not expect things to turn out this way. Everything was fine until the egg of the Divine Lord of Dragons hatched. At first, both were confused upon seeing the child. Could the Divine Lord Dragon not be a member of the dragon race, like an ancient dragon? Legends say exactly that the Divine Lord belongs to the race of dragonids. Still, they decided to try asking the child herself, although they doubted whether she would be able to speak immediately after birth. When the first words sounded, the children froze and looked at them. Only 2 words escaped from her lips, Mama and Papa. She tightly hugged Amelia and called her, Mom. How could this have happened? Amelia had heard that even dragons become attached at birth, so they were the first ones it saw when it came into the world. The dragonling turned to him and said, Daddy, then turned to Amelia and called Mommy. What will they do now, for now? The hero suggested they take a bath, and that is exactly what led to what has happened now. The hero reread the instructions once more and suddenly realized what slow maturation and growing conditions mean. Had never imagined he would have to raise a daughter. But even if he wanted to raise her here, They do not have normal living conditions, no supplies, and no way to obtain them. There are so many of them, so many problems, that he just wants to run away. He is really that weak. At that moment, a little dragon approached him and asked if his stomach hurt and if he wanted her kiss to take away that pain. The hero assured her that everything was fine and that he was just thinking. And he could not help but be surprised. Amelia managed to create such cute clothes for the little dragon in such a short time. Yes, she was happy that it seemed she liked it, and she felt it was worth unpacking the sheets in her canopy. She was anxious would everything be all right, since she had never dressed anyone before. The hero showed her a thumbs up and assured her that it was perfect. And the gathered hair is also so cute. The baby dragon joined their conversation. Amelia laughed and said admiringly how cute she was. She was asked if she was the divine ruler of dragons, and Amelia decisively answered, yes, she really was the same divine ruler who leads the dragon race. The boy dared to say it, and the hero just found her even cuter. Amelia suggested coming up with a nickname for her because Divine Lord of Dragons sounds like the title of a dragon chieftain. And the little dragoness complains that it's hard for her to pronounce it too. The hero pondered and watched her. Later, she developed red eyes and cute horns, and now she is the leader of the dragon race. Golden, shining, divine dragon who. And how about all of you? It means golden, from the word gold. He asked with interest, what does GOL think about her new nickname? They said the name, and she smiled brightly. It seems she really likes it. Joel approached Amelia and told her about her new nickname. She smiled at Joel, though her cheeks were blushing. When called Mom and Dad, she awkwardly blushed. The hero agreed. It really felt like he had found a new family. He was prepared from childhood to become a renowned lord representing the country, and in his childhood, he learned a lot from a great sage. Oliver adored talking about money, about investments and finance, and he thought that Oliver liked those conversations precisely because they were with him. But he was the only one who thought so, and even his twin brother became bitter towards him. He never had anything like a family since the times when he was not even in the world. Hiro was surprised when GOL offered to do it herself because she enjoyed doing things with them. Then she suggested they say they loved each other and hugged them. Hiro sincerely thanked her for teaching him, and Amelia smiled and praised her for her intelligence. Then Hiro decided to give GOL an award. These are bubbles from his laundry. Joel did not want this. She did not want to do the laundry. But Hiro asked her to watch carefully. He blew on the soap. The open bubbles flew into the air. Joel excitedly reached out her hands to the bubbles and asked if this was Hiro's magic. Hiro explained that these were soap bubbles. Joel laughed and asked Amelia to look at these beautiful bubbles, and Hiro's cheeks blushed a little. He blushed when he looked at Amelia. She, worried about him, asked what had happened. Hiro scratched his head and, a little embarrassed, told Amelia that she was beautiful. She instantly blushed. Simply because today she had a different hairstyle and different clothes. Amelia noticed how Joel was looking at them and asked her what had happened. Joel suggested an idea, let them kiss me, making the two blush even more. Actually, Joel, peeking out of the egg, noticed when they look like that they are kissing. The hero asked Amelia for help and explained that what happened then was a failed attempt. He shuddered when he saw Amelia going to prepare food. Joe laughed seeing how the hero was rejected, but then encouraged him. The hero just lightly patted her on the head. He had to do everything possible, and for her sake. So much had happened, but he would turn this territory into a place where people could live happily. GOL shown, she will laugh to her heart's content. It's so fun with him. And in the hero's past life, it was the same. He had a younger sister, so he endured, because when there is someone to protect, people become stronger and find meaning to live. Once he thought he was weaker than everyone, but thanks to GOL, he simply became stronger. Suddenly, a scream burst from inside the mansion. Amelia is in danger. They broke inside and saw Amelia lying on the floor. No, it can't be. How did this happen? The next day, 3 of them settled on the grass outside, and GOL sat on Amelia's lap when she raised her hand. And they ask, isn't it a problem that Amelia can't play with Hiro when she plays with her? Right, it is a problem. But the hero meant something completely different. He wants her to look into that suitcase he opened. Almost all their food supplies were already gone. Amelia apologized. She thought it was all her fault, and Joel looked up and asked if she ate all the food. That's not the point. It happened like this. She put the slime leftovers together with other food supplies, but it turned out it was still alive and eventually ate all the food inside. That is why Amelia screamed and fainted yesterday. In the bag she opened, there was a giant slime. They opened it, all the pork that was packed with it completely disappeared, only slime, some seasoning, and dried meat that the hero carried remained, and suddenly they heard a voice that questioned his words. It was a man with horns and hair braided only on one side. Upon hearing that the divine dragon lord had hatched, he came to bow and grab himself a good meal. He had been fasting since that last banquet. And this is how he behaves with him. The hero was confused and loudly asked, "Who am I?" The man looked at him fiercely and asked if he had already forgotten the face of his sworn ally. Hearing this, only one person instantly came to the hero's mind. It is an ancient dragon. Well, who else could it be? Neurosite. Honestly, it's a miracle they guessed just from that. The conversation was interrupted when Joel's stomach growled, and she asked if breakfast was ready, but they only had dried meat, and the ancient dragon could not believe it. Even dragon kids eat more than an adult, so a little dried meat wouldn't even scratch the surface. That is why they had to act quickly. The ancient dragon could go hunting for a giant demonic boar if necessary. But in reality, he wanted to ask for a favor. He asked the hero if he would allow him to become Gol's mentor, because every race has customs that only their own can pass on, and surely a bunch of things they simply cannot teach. The hero crouched down to Gol's level and asked her to decide for herself, to choose the path that seemed right to her. He believes the ancient dragon is right. Learning from another dragon is truly beneficial for Gl, and asks what she wanted to do. Joel turned to the ancient dragon, agreeing to play with him. The ancient dragon knelt down and treated her with deep respect. But Joel did not tolerate formalities and asked to be addressed simply as Gol. That was her rule. She jumped on his back, roaring with impatience to set off. The ancient dragon hesitated at first. But in the end, they did as she asked, and Amelia warned once again, do not do anything dangerous. Now they will have to figure out how to overcome this food shortage. Amelia, who suggested going hunting with the ancient dragon, was appointed mentor. She decided that this was also her chance to be useful. Well, that warrior tribe with cat ears eats what they hunt every day, and if there is any left, they set it aside as a reserve so they don't starve in winter. And they can also exchange horns and skins for seasonings and spices, or turn them into clothing and tools. But the hero was worried because they did not have hunting tools. So Amelia advised using traps. Time is pressing, so it will be faster if she just shows him. First, she will show him the simplest trap, just lianas and sticks. This is the first hunting method children learn. Because animals can catch the scent of the trap, they always gather materials right on the spot. For the rope, they braid lianas that twist around the estate, use branches to set the trap, and that's all the preparation, and nearby there is a game trail, so the trap will be set right there. The hero became anxious. Dangerous creatures could be lurking on the trail leading from the disgusting forest. But Amelia assured him, everything should be fine before we gathered. She inspected the place and did not sense anything dangerous. Few relief if the forest is nearby. They can even gather wild vegetables. But still, they should not relax so, because a huge slime can swallow an adult person whole, and that is truly traumatic. They went deeper along the path, found a wonderful place, and happily began to unpack their things. Having set the first trap, Amelia decided to set about 3 more just like it along the animal trails. Hiro smiled. Looking at her, she looked as if she was having fun, and she only thought that she could finally be useful to him. Suddenly, Amelia felt something. Her ear twitched, and she asked Hiro to prepare the glasses. She put on the glasses he handed her and explained what she was aiming at. Aimed at a bird calmly resting on a tree branch. Amelia really wished she had a bow right now. But today she would use a sling, the very one specialized by the tribe with cat ears, their signature weapon that can bring down even a large beast. For the little bird, a tiny stone would do, but just in case, she would not throw it too hard. Threw the stone to the bird. Just one word and a huge explosion sounded. Amelia clung to Hiro. They both trembled. So much power in such a small stone. Good thing she didn't throw it at full strength. She needs to practice and feel how to control her power. It seems that the enhancement from the revelation of God is not always a blessing. Fortunately, their praise only stunned, not killed. At that very moment, a voice from the mansion's roof sounded. Jewel was calling them. She excitedly told them that she had learned something cool and immediately showed it. She inhaled, even before releasing the beam of light, which caused an explosion that destroyed the mountain. The ancient dragon boasted, this is the result of his training. As befits the future leader of the dragon tribe, she already knows how to use their most powerful move, the destructive roar. Jewel rushed to the hero, who, stroking her head, praised her. It was truly impressive. He thought that his entire territory was about to disappear. The hero called the ancient dragon, and he immediately thought that he was about to be showered with praise. However, Hiro crossed his arms over his chest and decisively said that tonight he would be left without dinner. The ancient dragon could not believe his eyes, grabbed him by the shoulders, and shouted why everything turned out this way. when he had passed on to the dragon tribe the most powerful technique that can erase everything, and Hiro said they had food problems, right? Does he even understand how many days of food disappeared from just one strike? Even the wild vegetables in his domain are a luxury, and as the lord of this land, he cannot just walk past. The ancient dragon must take responsibility as the appointed mentor. But the ancient dragon considered the punishment too harsh and, as always, begged for mercy. But what is wrong is wrong. If the hero overlooks this, his domain will fall into ruin. The ancient dragon asked Joel to say a few words on his behalf, but she instead promised to eat all his food, and from afar, a man in a monocle was watching them. Thinking that the lord who takes a post in such a wilderness might turn this into a very profitable opportunity. And Amelia tirelessly honed her archery skills, all thanks to the glasses the hero made for her. But now she sees clearly farther, so there will be no problems with the martial arts tournament next week. All the archery training and food supplies were very helpful. Only the ancient dragon needed to bring the required provisions they asked for, and then they would be fully ready. The hero looked around when he heard Joel calling him. And when he did, he was greeted by an excited Joel who hugged him too tightly. Amelia asked worriedly if the hero was all right, and he replied that he could barely stand in the divine intervention. Then he looked down at Joel and asked how her hunt went. Joel's eyes lit up when she told him they had plenty of food and that she had also caught something amazing. Something amazing, they wondered what it was. So Joel persistently called them to follow her, and they went. When they approached, a bunch of monsters appeared before them, along with an ancient dragon. There was a demonic boar, a sea serpent, a minotaur, and even a medusa, and the hero was almost sure he had asked the ancient dragon to buy the most essential groceries. So why do monsters exist that can't even be eaten like minotaurs or medusas? Isn't it obvious? The ancient dragon wanted to show off. Medusas are disaster-level monsters, perfect for him to demonstrate his power. They already knew he was strong, but Hiro had a reason to ask for basic groceries. Here food can only be preserved one way: smoked meat. If they have so many supplies, they won't manage to eat it all before it spoils, and the ancient dragon asked what was so bad about it rotting. It dies, decomposes, and nourishes the earth. Plants grow on it, animals eat them, and life goes on. This is the law of the world. Although he was not wrong, their conversation was suddenly interrupted by Gol, who told the hero that she could eat a lot of this at once, even if she was small. Next to her on his knees, a man begs for his life. Amelia asked Joel who that man was, and Joel explained that he had fallen into a hidden pit trap, so she caught him. He smells so pleasant that probably he will not taste bad either. At that moment, the man introduced himself as Jack. He trades here, in the Rotwell territory, and travels as a merchant from the Ardmic Trading Company. The hero thought that seeing a traveling merchant here was a rarity, more like suspicious. What kind of merchant has no cart or sacks? 6. Jack explained that all his belongings are right here, in his bag. It is a magical artifact that his father left him as a keepsake. It easily holds as much as an entire warehouse. But the thing is, along with the inheritance, he got all the debts his father had made. That's exactly why he came all the way here. Since they decided who would become Rotwell's successor, prices have skyrocketed like crazy. Almost no goods are left, and even if you manage to buy something, selling is impossible because everything is too expensive. With such earnings, he barely survives, so he travels to other lands to buy goods, and this estate has become his temporary refuge. He saw them here last week when he stopped by, so today he returned to officially introduce himself. The hero clenched his fist. This is bad. The consequences of heavy taxes appeared faster than he expected. Jack has that magical artifact, so he should be trading much more than other merchants, and yet his business is barely holding on. If this continues, those two will ruin the Rotwell territory. Action was needed now, before it became too late. Joe, the last heroine, what was wrong and whether her catch was really worthless. You can't say it's a disaster, but it's a bit disappointing. Jack is a shopkeeper who sells all sorts of things. If they eat him up, he will no longer be able to bring them treats. Joel panicked, asking what they should do, because she really wanted to eat something tasty. Well, she could start by apologizing to Jack. Joe bowed to Jack, apologizing, although she still drooled over him. The hero stroked her head and praised her for doing so well, and Jack sighed with relief how good it was that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. The hero extended his hand to Jack. Sorry for the trouble. My name is Hiro Rotwell. I am an adopted member of the Rotwell family and came here by order of the territory lord. Moreover, he was allowed to use the estate as before. Jack scratched the back of his head and asked if he was really sure about that, since that would be a great help. But Amelia objected, insisting that Jack might be lying. She scolded Hiro for his excessive kindness and for letting people into the estate for free. Is he really going to accept everyone indiscriminately? If he continues like this, one day he will get seriously hurt, and even then he will just say that he is glad it happened to him, and she does not want him to get hurt like that. The hero apologized to Amelia, but as Lord he cannot back down from this. If he leaves people in trouble just to protect himself, he will not be able to save anyone who turns to him for help. She is right, there may be those who try to take advantage of him or deceive him. Still, if someone calls for help, he will extend his hand to save them. Amelia pouted. He said it so straightforwardly that she had nothing to reply. The hero just chuckled and apologized for making her worry. Now Jack understands why Hiro had dragons, and why someone from the Warkadir tribe worked for him for such a young guy. He simply has an unrealistically big heart. Hiro thought he was overestimating him too much. Maybe he said something bold, but honestly they themselves are currently very busy. He is a lord, but they have no inhabitants, only a ruined estate and land littered with more than one piece of meat and monster corpses, and this is just the beginning of their problems. In that case, Jack has a proposal for him. He would like to buy this pile of monsters from him, since he mostly trades in food. If this meat is demon boar, he will sell even such an amount without problems. That would help incredibly, but what to do with those monsters that cannot be eaten? That will not be a problem. The Medusa's eye is a super high-quality magical material. The horns and hooves of the Minotaur are top-grade materials for weapons and armor, and dragon fangs and scales are incredibly rare, so he will put them up for auction. As for dismantling the beasts and cleaning up the remains, he will deduct this from the total amount, so there is no need to worry, but there is one problem. Right now, he has too little money on him. Amelia frowned, so he really tried to cheat Hiro. Jack frantically waved his hands, denying that she misunderstood. He just meant that he did not have that much money at hand to immediately buy such an amount of material. Of course, private deals would be more profitable for him, but instead he considered signing a formal contract. He pulled a scroll from his bag. This is what the Ardmic Trading Company uses for territorial contracts, a magical promissory note with deferred payment. He will come once a week to take their order, then he will pick up the goods, and the money from all sales will be transferred to them by the end of the next month. The company takes 5 from sales as a guarantee, but Jack will take those 5 upon himself. But Hiro did not accept this. He believed that the contract should be fair. In trade, the one who is in debt is always in a vulnerable position, but even opening a trade route in this area was already quite a profitable matter for him. To him, Jack bowed and apologized. He just really wanted to make this deal. Then they proceeded to sign the contract. The company, the Ardmic Trading, often deals with noble families, so according to the rules, when concluding a contract, the contractor must be either the wife or the heir. On the hero's side, after all, many nobles spend money quite irresponsibly, but that is all just a formality, so Jack suggested that someone should contact his wife for the papers. In that case, the hero asked Amelia to do this work. Seeing her surprised expression, Jack smiled and reassured her. It will be only on paper, so there is no need to worry. Amelia blushed. Even though it is only on paper, it is recorded that they are husband and wife. So the hero asked if she wanted to be the guarantor. If it were someone she did not love, she would have refused, but that is not the case. She just wanted him to say it properly, even if it would be only on paper. The hero knelt on one knee and asked her to become his wife. Amelia looked away, her cheeks burning with a blush, and she was about to agree when suddenly someone sharply interrupted their conversation. Wasn't it enough for her that she had disgraced their family in the village? Now she also wants to stain their name here. It's disgusting when a person born of the blood of a proud tribe of warriors with cat ears marries an invader. A woman from the Warkadir tribe, with a bow in her hands, sternly ordered Amelia to return with her to the village. If she refused, she would pay for this shame with her life. Amelia wondered why that woman Natasha had come here. And Natasha gave her a choice. Either she would return with her to the village, or she would die here by her hands. The hero asked if Amelia knew her. She answered, yes, Natasha had taught her many things since childhood. She is a child and one of the elite scouts of the village, and she assumes that Natasha was sent to watch her after her departure. But Natasha refused. Her departure was never the real problem. The problem is that people live on this land. That hero could not understand how people could be a problem if the Rotwell family had inherited this territory for generations. Obviously, people never bothered to study the true history of this land. This place lies right next to the village of the Warkadir tribe, which was once the center of human hunts for demihumans. They came for reconnaissance upon hearing about the Lord's arrival, but she could never have imagined that one of theirs would end up on the other side, on the side of the people. Amelia insisted that she was not guilty of anything. After the defeat in battle, she was hanging by a thread from death, and Hiro spent his entire fortune to save her. Is not like the people of the past. Natasha could not believe that a person would give expensive medicine to a half-human after all. history showed that they did not even give water to hungry half-humans. Jack persistently tried to explain that people are not so cruel now and simply asked to sit down for a cup of tea and talk. Natasha recognized him, the same traveling merchant who had already been in the village. Does he really think she will fall for some kind of trick? The wolves surrounded her. She was urgently asking which hero had slipped something into Amelia's medicine and was already about to allow the magical wolves to devour such a filthy slave trader as he was. The hero was puzzled why the magical wolves appeared so often nearby. It turned out this was the reason. With such numbers, they were seriously intent on destroying them. The ancient dragon asked the hero what to do next. If he commands, he will instantly turn them to ashes. But the hero did not want this. If they escalate the situation here, Amelia will suffer. But if it continues like this, they will lose. We need to think. Can he really sincerely beg for mercy? No, that won't work. They can demand his life in return. If he challenges Natasha to a duel, his strength simply will not hold. Here neither wisdom nor the experience of a dragon's heart will help. As Marisan warned, he can really die here. No, must not give up. There must be at least something. A decisive move to turn the situation around. He does not know what will happen next, but the risk is worth it. These are the points Amelia gave him, so he must use them for her sake. Natasha noticed the Book of Revelation and decisively ordered the magical wolves to prepare for the attack. This hero awakened a divine revelation. Lottery of the Sacred Scrolls, and he was awarded a special title, the book Senna, God of Plenty. He opened the book with one motion, and when he looked inside, there was an echo. This tripled the growth rate of crops on their own lands, including tanuki beans and soy crops. What kind of revelation is this supposed to be? No, wait, he already lost the moment he put everything on the line. Tasha asked if he was trying to bribe her with this. Human pleas for mercy grow stranger every day, and she prepared her bow, standing on the threshold of death. When Joel stepped in front of the heroine, warning her not to offend Mom and Dad, the question arose, did she mean Amelia by Mom? When Joel answered affirmatively. Natasha frowned sharply. She knew that Amelia was barely managing at the martial tournament, and she knew, to solve this, she needed Artemis's bow. She thought that was why she silently left the village, yet she still abandoned her sister, so she could play house with people, so what is she really lacking? If necessary, Natasha will make her understand this. She drew the bow. Amelia shouted at the hero to dodge, but he cannot. This attack is inevitable. If he dodges, Gol will become a victim. If Amelia covers him, the pride of the Varkadir tribe will be preserved. If he takes the arrow himself, the mission is accomplished. Natasha released the arrow, and the hero closed his eyes, about moving and apologies. However, his eyes snapped open sharply when he heard a grumbling voice. The leader surrendered first. It was Smirnov who stopped the arrow with just his hand and instantly broke it in half. The hero took his life too lightly. If he disappeared here, what would happen to them? His words confused the hero. But he instantly realized, as soon as he noticed the people behind Smirnov, they were peasants and craftsmen whom he had brought here because he believed they could be useful to the hero. Returning after he had led the members of the bandit guild to Rotwell's domain, these people found him. Having not paid taxes, their fields were taken away and they had nowhere to go, but the hero believed that he could not save them alone by his own strength. Smirnov warned him, do not take this the wrong way. These people did not come to ask for help. They are here because they believe they can be useful to him. The territory is created by all who live in it. If he thinks he can manage alone, he is very mistaken. The hero now understood he lacked strength, but Lord's determination was unwavering. He, as Lord, ordered to resolve this without casualties on either side. He leads and they will definitely follow his instructions. Smirnov at his signal will restrain Natasha. Amelia and the ancient dragon will stand guard over the people, and Gol will remain in the shadows. As soon as everyone was ready, they decided to move out. The hero activated his divine, blessing. The roar of a beast sounded. This increases the chances of successful communication with the beasts. He calmly stabbed the monster with his sword, and she was. They obeyed, their bodies trembled, and Natasha looked at them puzzled. When she noticed Smirnov, he rushed to her. She thought he was a burly guy, but he is fast. He managed to cut her bow with a knife in less than a second. Dodging a second attack is impossible, so she aims at his neck, using. She had already raised the dagger to rip out his heart, but before she could do anything, Smirnov effortlessly subdued her. She is just like Hiro, isn't she? Giving up her life so easily, that's not right. Natasha blushed when Smirnov asked if she understood and called her kitten. Before answering that she really understood, Hiro sincerely praised Smirnov and thanked him, and Smirnov turned and responded with praise, saying, you did well too. Hiro petted the charming wolf. Fortunately, he was unharmed. Then Smirnov asked what that just was. It was one of the revelations that Hiro had usually used against werewolves, but he sharpened the voice and turned it into a command. Although he did not expect it to work on dragons as well. Natasha, who was now completely tamed on the ground. They asked Amelia why she protected them so much if she knew the history between humans and half-humans. Although Emily was saved, at first she felt the same, but the hero looked her straight in the eyes and asked if it was wrong to save someone who is dying, and it was Natasha who taught her that. The Varkadir tribe always repays its debts, it is their tradition. Natasha smiled, exactly she was shameless. Turning to Hiro, she asked what he was going to do with her. In fact, he had no plans for her, but there was one request. They are being led to the village of the Varkadir tribe's Amelia is returning to the martial tournament, so it makes sense for them to head there as well. Well then, to introduce oneself properly. Natasha led the group of heroes through the very depths of the demonic forest, and informed them that after a long walk the village was just ahead. The ancient dragon with GOL on his shoulders grumbled that he had to walk flying would have been much faster. If this is just a village of such a level, they could easily conquer it from the air, just sitting on its back. The hero took off his hood and exclaimed that doing so was absolutely forbidden. Because they are going to greet them as neighbors. There is already a wall between the warrior tribe of cats and humans, so no one knows what could ignite a war. If that happens, the ancient dragon will be forbidden to eat for life. But in this punishment, not a drop of tension, right? Smirnov jumped into the conversation and sharply asked Hiro if he was sure that this power would be enough. You know what they say, better safe than sorry. Natasha and Amelia feel a burning, uncontrollable hostility towards humans. And the rest of the tribe, didn't they have to gather everyone? But that won't work after all, everyone had their own affairs. They will not be on the territory for about 14 days, so Hiro asked Jack to take care of the materials and tools. The craftsmen are building houses and repairing the mansion, so they cannot just leave the territory unattended. The farmers are cultivating the land he asked them to sow the blessed seeds of rice and soy from the revelation. Even the servants help to dismantle monsters and assist in the work. Yes, they really asked for a lot. Of course, they also have an important matter. They need to improve relations with the Varkadir tribe. The demon forest is not fertile at all, so it will not feed everyone by itself. If they manage to establish trade with the village, they will be able to complement each other and make their lives richer. That is why he strives to win the martial arts tournament and become a bridge between the forest and the village. Amelia left the village alone, so she is not sure if they will let her participate. She thinks that greetings during the move will not be a problem, but others believe that everything will not go so smoothly. Everyone is clear about what will happen if they try to resist the power of the heroes. This is a clan that worships power, but they understand, true power is not the same as reckless courage. Smirnov glanced at Natasha as if asking whether they really understand after all. Someone among them might rush forward, risking their life like she did. Natasha crossed her arms and simply told him, "Shut up." Amelia glanced over her shoulder. They also had a secret weapon that Smirnov entrusted to them in case it was needed. The hero still hoped that they could settle this peacefully. Finally, they found themselves in a corridor that led them to the entrance of the village. It was gigantic, like a fortress created by nature itself, and at that moment they heard a contemptuous voice, claiming that it was made for such low creatures. Those like them must not trample their sanctuary. The woman who seemed to be their leader sternly warned, if they come even a little closer, they will perish. Apologizing for the unexpected visit, the hero introduced himself. He hoped that they could talk. The chief frowned. They had nothing to say to them. The hero stepped closer. He knew that they treated people badly, but asked them to just listen. Suddenly Smirnov sharply shouted to the hero to retreat. The warning from the Varkadir's tribe was not a bluff. By the chief's order, the tribe drew their bowstrings and aimed their bows at Hiro. But Amelia stopped them. She drew her bow. The hero saved her and became her protector, so she will not forgive anyone who dares to harm him, even if it is the chief. He doubted whether with her poor eyesight she could hit from such a distance, but with that bow she would hit. The chief froze in surprise. It cannot be. That bow must be the sacred weapon passed down in their tribe. Did she ask what they were going to do next, persuading Amelia? And from the side of the ancient dragon, they asked them to listen even earlier, or were they too stupid to understand the words? The leader cast a fierce look at him and sharply objected. This ignited a quarrel between them, as if they were in a battle of insults. The hero stepped forward, blocked the path of the ancient dragon, and calmed both. But the chieftainess raised her hand as soon as he stepped forward. A multitude of arrows rained down on them. She warned them, didn't she? One step forward and they will pay with their lives. This, but such is nothing compared to the ancient dragon. An explosion sounded. The chief was stunned. Did he use magic? No, he just lightly waved one wing. The leader couldn't believe her eyes. The ancient dragon regained its draconic form, and Joel was sitting on its head. But dragons on the side of humans, that was incredible. Well, he did tell her she would regret it, didn't he? The ancient dragon opened its mouth, preparing to attack like. But before he could do anything, Hiro used his divine gift and ordered the two dragons to sit. The ancient dragon complained and asked what he had done if they were the ones who struck first. At first, the chieftain looked at them with wide-open eyes and couldn't understand who this hero was, who managed to tame the dragon and make it follow him. The hero, turned to the chief and knelt. As a representative of his domain, he apologized for the rudeness of his companion and asked her to forgive his impoliteness. The chieftain came down to greet the hero and introduce herself. She is Emeralda, the chieftain of the Varkadir tribe. She thanked him for not using the power he possesses. Their tribe honors the strong. It looks like he is somewhat different from all other people. Then she asked what his purpose was in coming. Nothing special, just a trifle. At first, he just wanted to greet them after moving to the neighboring forest. He heard from Amelia that they were going to a martial arts tournament and wanted to see their skill with his own eyes. The tribe members began to laugh. Skill, he says. Isn't she the one who abandoned the village? Emeralda apologized for her tribe's behavior. Certain circumstances were behind it. It is not worth continuing this conversation standing here. So she invited them to their estate to discuss all the details. They entered the corridor and walked behind Emeralda. She told about the great tree said to be inhabited by a god, and about Artemis's bow, a divine weapon created by the gods. Their ancestors were entrusted with guarding this sacred tree. That is why their tribe seeks greater power. Finally, having emerged from the corridor, they arrived at the village. What a wonderful sight it was. Houses stood on the ground, and others right on the branches of trees. It seemed that life and nature coexisted here. On the roof of one of the houses, two elves froze in surprise. People were invited to the village. I hope this does not interfere with their plan. Meanwhile, Hiro and his company entered the village, captivated by what surrounded them. Although they really did attract attention, the hero noticed wandering children in the alley and Smirnov warned him, be ready to run at any moment. They might be here to beg or to pursue them. Either way, they better be prepared for anything. To their surprise, members of the tribe, especially women, rushed to them, showering them with caresses and attention. People came to the village for the first time. How strong they must be. Smirnov were shocked. They turned out to be much more popular than expected. But one of them even asked if he already had a partner. And just as he was about to respond with flirtation, Natasha shouted for them to step back. These people are guests of Emeralda, so no disrespect will be tolerated here. Smirnov wondered why she was so angry, but she dismissed his accusations. Yes, she is not angry, she is jealous. Emeralda asked Hiro with concern if he was okay, and explained that the villagers are very sensitive to strength and cannot restrain themselves with strangers. If they ever offended him, she would like to apologize on their behalf. The hero was pleasantly surprised. Honestly, he thought they would be attacked as soon as they stepped into the village. Emeralda agreed such types really exist, and if they are surrounded again, it will be problematic, so they should urgently hurry to the manor. As soon as they found themselves inside the manor, they entered the room that Emeralda used for personal matters and sat opposite the hero's group. Hiro and Amelia examined the room, admiring every detail, but when Emeralda asked to get to the point, their attention instantly turned to her. They said they came only to greet and watch the martial arts tournament, but she doesn't believe that's all. Exactly, they actually have two goals. One is to establish trade with the tribe of warriors with cat ears. Emeralda understood and inquired if they have something they need or want to sell. Honestly, it's both. She has to know the condition of their domain, right? This is land where beastmen were constantly hunted, and the hostility between humans and beastmen never ceased. She heard that many poisons and magic were used then. Because of those destructions, it's hard to turn the land into fields, and monsters gather around the bloodstained soil. This land has become harsh for humans. It turned into a complete wasteland, so how do they even plan to trade here? The hero showed his divine blessing. This stunned Emeralda. All of this was the revelation of the gods themselves. Although almost none of this brings him direct benefit, this power must still be highly valued in human society. No, actually, Hiro was born into the mighty Rotwell family, but because of that power he was expelled. The younger brother inherited the house, and Hiro was adopted and made a lord. Emeralda asked what he seeks to achieve on this land after his family betrayed and expelled him from home, revenge, or conquest. The hero briefly clenched his fist. He wants to create a place where everyone could live in peace, a world where no one starves and no one has to fight. As she said, life here is very hard for people. For now, Amelia and the dragons go hunting and trade materials for food, but as soon as more people arrive, they will start lacking everything. So he decided that they need to contact the tribe of warriors. With cat ears, they definitely know how to live in the forest. And another goal is to save Amelia's younger sister. He heard this story from Amelia. She said that if she doesn't win the tournament, she will be forcibly sent to serve one of the influential ones. Emeralda gritted her teeth. Is that why she ran away from the village? What a fool. Why didn't she consult with them? Because of her action, Amira, her sister, also ended up in exile. Amelia couldn't believe it. He did it and asked Emeralda to repeat what she just said. Emeralda gathered all her strength and told him that they were expelled from the village. The hero interrupted their conversation and said that such harsh punishment should not be for simply leaving the village without permission. But this is a sacred law, passed down from generation to generation, to protect the divine tree in their clan, given by the gods. If the location of their village becomes known, past tragedies may repeat. And if it became known that someone from the weakest family left, it would immediately arouse suspicion. There are even those who betray their tribe and join bandit guilds. She turned to Amelia and asked why she did not think about the danger she might bring to her beloved family, while Amelia was already beginning to worry about Amira. A child approached her. It was Amira, her sister. She rushed to hug her, breathing a sigh of relief she was safe. But why was she here? Emerald answered. It turned out she had protected her. Before the tournament, Amira was accused of fleeing and forcibly taken to serve, and her family was stripped of status and exiled to settle the matter. If that is so, Hiro thought, then what will Amelia and the others do now? The emeralds humbly bow before Hiro and beg him to consider accepting these two into his domain. She knows she is asking too much and fully understands how unreasonable it is, but begs him to bend the rules just this once. Hiro asked her to lift her head. He would be very glad to welcome them both, but was worried it might cause tension with the anti-human faction. He does not want anything bad. But he urgently needed to inquire about the children they saw on the streets. Along the way, it seemed they were in the same trouble as Amelia. Exactly, the issue is not that Emeralda turns a blind eye to that catastrophe, but that if she started helping the weak from her position, she would only be despised. Even if she wanted to protect them, she would be powerless to do anything. These children will either be sold to other villages for work or returned to the earth. They have no other choice now. In that case, the hero advised borrowing those children through previous exchange proposals. Because their lands need hands to master and cultivate the soil. They will take care of food, clothing, and shelter, and do everything possible to teach and prepare them. Emeralda was confused. Why was he making such a proposal? Because it would not seem strange for two girls to live in the manor, and it would also help the street children. Moreover, she could visit the children as if she were a relative. Emeralda was touched by his heart. He is so mature for his age. At that moment, their conversation was interrupted by a voice saying that Emeralda cannot just go alone. It was a messenger of the elf tribe, an elf woman, who indignantly complained that she had already submitted papers to buy those children, and if dissatisfied, would buy that girl at any cost. But Emeralda only told her, "Don't be ridiculous. They will never agree to such a slave contract. She wants not money, but their future." The elven sighed. They came to help with the tournament, but it was suddenly cancelled, and the labor contract, concluded in good faith, became invalid. Is she really ready to break a 1,000-year friendship just to sign a contract with humans? Does she even understand what will happen to their village if the elf chief finds out about this? Emeralda did not back down. If they want to bring war to their village, they will fight with all their might. When the conversation escalated, Hiro instantly stepped between them. War could not be allowed, so he proposed his plan. This is a village of a tribe of warriors with cat ears, where everything is decided by strength. Therefore, they decided to arrange an intertribal martial arts tournament. This way they can avoid senseless clashes, and the winner will gain the right to negotiate. Emerald was boiling with rage. In the tribe of warlike eared cats, no one has the right to retreat in martial arts. Being protected without a fight is a disgrace for the tribe. Then she threw out the idea. The winner can demand one wish, and the losing village must fulfill it. The elf Alexia became interested, and herself offered to represent the elf tribe in this tournament. The representative of the tribe of warriors with cat ears will be Amelia. The tournament rules allow any form of combat from hand to ranged, but she was worried whether Amelia could handle even Artemis's bow. Amelia assured her, no problem, they have more on their side than just divine weapons. Amira was puzzled seeing her sister in a new look, and Amelia explained that what she has on her eyes are glasses, a human artifact that can change fate. She gently ran her hand over Amira's face. How much she had grown, even though she cannot see, and even has a birthmark like their mother. Amira froze in surprise. Amelia now sees, yes, sees clearly. When Hiro opened the window, she looked outside. The pride of their lands is the princess archer. Her arrows never miss and can even hit a falling leaf from afar, from 1,000 miles. Amelia shot an arrow past the open window and Hiro asked what she thinks, but he sees there is nothing to worry about. It seems the gifted archer has returned. In that case, this tournament will become a battle for the pride of the tribes. They will give everything they have. In 3 days, the intertribal martial arts tournament will begin. One day after 3 days, the intertribal martial arts tournament finally took place. This tournament will become a battle of 3 tribes. It was held in a huge open coliseum. The Varkadir tribe, guardians of the sacred tree, an elven tribe, seekers of ancient wisdom. And for the first time, people were allowed into the village. The strongest warriors from each group came. First of all, his unwavering strength allows him to pierce targets from an incredible distance. The mightiest fighter of the tribe of warriors with cat ears Garius. Secondly, her perfectly polished magical arrows pierce even the thinnest spider webs. The unparalleled magical archer Alexia. And finally, once she was called a wunderkind, now only in memories. She dropped out of school and left the village, saved by people the fallen wunderkind Amelia. The fate of their tribes rests on the shoulders of these 3 warriors. The spectators booed Amelia, calling her a traitor for bowing to the people. Smirnov looked around. It was cruel here even on enemy land. This sharply contrasted with how they had entered the village. Joel was furious and planned to destroy anyone who touched her mother, but Amelia stopped her. She has glasses that the hero gave her, Artemis's bow that Smirnov obtained, and her encouragement with this she can definitely win. The host announced, this tournament became possible thanks to the cooperation of the elf tribe. They provided various artifacts. First, a protective spell. Although the fights will take place in the great arena, a barrier will rise over the entire field so that the spectators do not suffer from accidental attacks. The events inside will be projected onto the sky. As for the battle rules, special abilities and weapons can be used without restrictions, but killing is forbidden. Everything that harms inside the barrier will instead hit a humanoid double. It will copy all injuries down to the last detail, and if any limb is destroyed, the real fighter will also lose movement in that part. When a warrior receives a critical amount of damage, it means defeat, and he will faint. Also, an attack after the opponent's proxy is destroyed. This will be considered a foul as punishment. A lightning spell at full power will be cast on the offender to disable him. It seems the opponents have already lined up at the start. Now, everything is ready. Now Emeralda will give the signal the duel begins. It would not be an exaggeration to say that the stake of this fight is who will rule this land. She is confident that they will witness a battle worthy of such stakes. Thus begins the intertribal marshals tournament. Amelia hid behind a stone and thought that this place looked quite safe. Garius' revelation is complete concealment, and Alexia shoots magical arrows. Because of this, she loses greatly in range, so for now she will only observe until someone makes the first move. Just then Garius approached her. Amelia cursed takes the hit. Her double repeated the hit that struck her, and the hero could not help but worry. The host announced what was happening. Jerry delivers a cruel, unexpected blow and knocks out one opponent right at the start. That's how it seemed to them. Amelia barely stayed on her feet. If not for the hero's blessing, it would have ended for her. The hero wondered why Garius chose such a reckless tactic, and the ancient dragon explained that no one would expect an archer, used to acting from afar, to suddenly rush up close to deliver a direct hit, so it is not entirely senseless. But the hero felt that something was wrong. He had a very bad feeling. Amelia never expected that Garius would rush straight at her. Doesn't that mean he considers her easy prey that can be taken down without any cunning? Then she will respond with fire without hesitation. Amelia made the first shot at this level. Garius will definitely dodge, and she needs him to do that so she can immediately go on the offensive. But he did not dodge the arrow, hit him in the head. But he rushed at her again. Inside, so she released more arrows, but he took them all on himself. Garius lunged forward to strike Amelia again. She could no longer deflect them. She activated an aerial maneuver and jumped onto a tree branch. Why did he decide to act so recklessly? She needs to regroup. But even before she could do anything, Garius appeared behind her and threw her to the ground, pinning her beneath him. This strength exceeds the capabilities of a beastman. If this continues, she will lose. But to her surprise, Garius asked her to knock him down. He can't believe it. It seems those elves slipped something into his drink. He had warned her to be careful. They are definitely plotting something. If he is destined to lose, it is better to fall at the hand of one of his own. He believes that even a failure like her could pierce his heart with that bow. A warrior of the Varkadir tribe would rather choose death than defeat, and Amelia cannot imagine what torment it must cost such a strong person as him when he begs for defeat. Him so as a comrade in arms. She will throw all her strength into the battle. Amelia threw Garius off herself and grabbed an arrow, aiming it straight at him. A direct hit will not land, and even one powerful arrow will not be enough. But now, with the hero's blessing, she will manage. Even a failure like her will find a way to victory. No, only now, the only chance when it is possible, she released the arrows. Using her divine grace, divine lightning speed. A rapid series of shots. Garius's eyes widened at the moment the arrows hit him. Damn, did she really pull that off? He fell to the ground near. At the same time, his proxy exploded, shocking the spectators. Meanwhile, the announcer declared that Amelia had defeated Garius. It seems this defeat toppled the strongest warrior of her tribe. Amelia grabbed her side. She heard that the proxy in human form supposedly prevents injuries, but she still feels pain and exhaustion. She turned to the fallen Garius and thought that he must have been terribly hurt. Suddenly, her divine blessing worked. Danger detection was activated. An arrow whistled past her hair. It was an attack by Alexia. She thought Amelia was just a loser, so she did not expect her to dodge her attack, and good, at least she broke the glasses, that's enough. Instead, Amelia looked at her angrily, and blood was running down her cheek. Alexia's unexpected attack was dodged, and Amelia was saved by someone. According to the revelation of the Varkadir tribes, Amelia was lucky to avoid this thanks to insight, but losing the glasses is equivalent to a fatal blow. Why did Alexia, a representative of the elf tribe, go for that? Amelia decided to ask her what she was planning. She told her about what Garius said. According to him, they had planned something and even poisoned him, and Alexia was holding a bottle in her hand. Does she really mean that? This is the Berserker's potion that she brewed herself. It frees the body from pain and gives strength beyond human limits. But of course, the price is a complete loss of self-control. She was curious how Amelia herself managed to overcome and get rid of that side effect, but it seems her formula still needs refinement. Amelia could not believe her eyes. Is she really ready to resort to poison just to win the tournament? Alexia told her, better say that to Garius. The mighty warrior Garius was so desperately eager for victory that he begged her to give him that potion. Although she usually gave him medicine that sharply enhances physical abilities, Amelia asked what his goals were. And Alexia explained that she initially worked in education. She was sent to this village to teach magic. But in this village, children who cannot fight, having lost their parents or abandoned, are left with nothing. They have nowhere to go. Every year, hundreds of kittens are abandoned. Because of this barbaric belief that strength is above all, they fade away in the darkness of alleys, waiting for death. Alexia tirelessly tried to change this. She proposed a bunch of reforms and aid plans, but no one listened to a word. She gave up her teaching position and became the village envoy. The elven forest suffers from a shortage of hands, so under the guise of slavery, she sent the abandoned children there so they could finally find shelter. That, thanks to this work, the children can. She was called the devil's slave trader. She tore apart brothers and sisters, friends, constantly hearing their screams, and despair. Her heart could no longer bear it when Garius approached her with a proposal. He assured that, becoming the strongest in the village, he could change everything, and for this he needed the power of magical potions. She believed in him and gave him medicine, but in the end he choked on power and nothing changed. Everything changed. That was when she understood. If she wants something, she will have to grab it with her own hands. Alexia released an arrow and instantly activated the prison of the lightning arrow. It was a devastating magical strike. Lightning wove a prison using the arrow as its base. This barrier cannot suppress magic, so Amelia must surrender before it becomes too late. Amelia was confused. The damage inside the barrier was supposed to be taken by a proxy, so where did the real wounds come from? But never mind, she has to break the prison, so she shoots an arrow at Alexia. Did she really think Alexia would not anticipate an attack of that level? Alexia deflected the arrow with a windshield. In that case, Amelia just needs to. She had to exceed those expectations. She rushed at Alexia and aimed the bow at her head. At such a distance, a single protective spell is not enough, and if she activates Revelation, one strike will be enough. When Alexia was surrounded, Amelia's physical strength was impressive, but unfortunately, she was prepared for such an attack. She summoned a tornado of arrows that rushed at Amelia. Her magical attack hit critically, and although Amelia gained the advantage, everything turned against her. This should be a devastating blow. Magic that simultaneously attacks and defends, it is not so easy to break. Julie was worried that Amelia might lose, and the ancient dragon simply said that the situation was very grim. The hero reassured her, don't worry, because Amelia has magical words that make her stronger. Joel asked him to tell her what those words were. He whispered in her ear and encouraged her to say it loudly so that Amelia could hear them. Both cheered Amelia as loudly as possible, hoping their voices would reach her. Amelia's ear twitched. Hearing their voices, they tried to get up, determined not to give up yet. Alexia approached her and asked if she thought she could still fight, because it seemed to her that she had no options left. Amelia's eyes widened in shock when she saw that all the stones on the bow were completely shattered, and revelation had already begun to take effect. No, she should remain calm and retreat for now, but Alexia will never allow her to do that. She did it and activated the shockwave before aiming the arrow at her. This is the end. At such a distance without glasses, Amelia sees everything blurred. She couldn't avoid Alexia's attack. The scattered fire hit all over her body. If only she could make glasses herself. She once studied it, but no longer exactly remembered what Hiro said. When the time came, her glasses had already melted. They are useful but don't last long, that's the catch. The hero explained that this is an application of everyday magic, so it's simple, and encouraged her to try making her own. All she had left was to scrape it off and cover it with transparent ice so that nothing penetrated inside, not even air. When you carve ice, a convex lens makes things bigger, and a concave one makes them smaller. Amelia tilted her head in confusion. She doesn't understand this, and probably it was the same for you when you first heard about it. Hiro clenched his fist, aligned the opening at eye level, and insisted that she try. He says it's a bit easier to see from afar this way. Amelia tried and was amazed. Although barely, she sees more clearly. In fact, if she attached lenses to the front and back of a long tube, she could make a device to see far away. But you can't just glue ice to your hands, so she really needs to learn how to make real glasses. This was the only move left to her. She clenched her hand into a fist and applied ice on both sides. The round bulge grows until she examines the target in parts, then thins it and pulls out the tube. The hero instantly understood her plan. This is a sniper lens, and in a moment she already makes a binocular out of it. Yet Alexia, irritated by these foolish actions, decided to knock her down with this strike. Hit, she drew the bow. Numerous arrows were already ready to strike. Amelia did the same. If she cannot use her hands, then she will pull it with her feet instead. She released her attack. An arrow of the ultra-heavy class. The arrow, and at the same moment, Alexia released hers, a maximally powerful lightning arrow. Ran into a multitude of Alexia's arrows. She was confident that no arrow could pierce her magic, so it seemed to her, until Amelia's arrow whistled through the defense and hit her right in the chest. It was impossible. She was defeated by misfortune. These were her last words before she fainted. When her proxy exploded, the host loudly announced that the weakest of the tribe dealt the decisive blow, and that Amelia was the winner. Humanity won this tournament. The sniper lens made by Amelia simply melted. As soon as her tears began to fall, she did it, she really did it. To celebrate their victory, the hero prepared food for everyone, which Amiri liked very much. She had no idea that slime could be so tasty, and Jill gave her some more food to try. It's just fried potatoes, but the taste is simply unreal. The hero was glad that it suited her palate. Since this is a victory feast, let them eat their fill. Amira admired him because at such a young age he commanded a formidable military force, had deep knowledge, and was also excellent at cooking. Amelia stroked her head and agreed with relief. The hero can do everything and knows everything. It was thanks to him that they were able to save her. But the hero did not agree. Amelia also gave a lot of effort for the village, and now she can finally return home, and GOL will also have to work hard to manage the territory. Emilio was already about to ask what he meant. Suddenly they heard a surprised exclamation. It was Alexia. Emeralda stood before her and said without remorse that she had been expelled from the clan. The same for Garius. He was also sent into exile for the same crime. Now let them feel the burden of shame they brought upon their family. She threw Alexia a scrap of paper. It contained all the details so she could read them carefully. Alexia asked what would happen to the kittens, and Emeralda reassured her. There is already a pact between them and the hero, so she need not worry. The hero finally spoke. He had a proposal. Regarding Alexia and Garius, he would like to invite them to his lands. There are no clear rules about what to do with exiles, but what exactly did he have in mind for them? Alexia covered her chest with her hands, although she was actually hiding almost nothing, and accused him of making her his hostage. Two sisters, Amelia and Amira, angrily exclaimed to her that Hiro would never be so vulgar and that she should not put him on the same level as Smirnov. No, not that slander about Smirnov. Alexia sighed. If that is not the case, then what was he planning? Smirnov answered. In his opinion, Hiro was not planning anything at all. This fool with a soft heart always puts others above himself, but this time that won't work. His divine revelation ignites as soon as both sides recognize each other as allies. By this time, the entire Varkadir tribe should already feel its effect. And this is undeniable proof that the Varkadir tribe is now officially under his banner. Since then, Hiro has become the great lord who rules over both the demon forest and the Varkadir tribe's village. At their disposal is the former sword saint of the kingdom, the archer princess from the Varkadir tribes, and 2 titans of the dragon clan. This clan could challenge even the army of a great state, and now warriors of the Varkadir tribe are joining them. That is why the elf chief made the first move. By cutting ties with those responsible, he can calmly pretend he knew nothing no matter how many accusations are thrown at him. Now there is no need to listen to their leader, and if he steps onto their territory, he will be officially considered an invader. Hiro understands, accepting outcasts as subordinates can ignite a political conflict, and he knows well a weighty explanation is needed. Traveling so far to accept them will be troublesome, but honestly, it would be a pity not to do it. Alexia is a teacher. Now they will take prisoners and children of the tribes. They will need training, so letting someone like her go would be a wasted loss. Injurious for the same reason. He can disappear like a shadow, so he is perfect for guarding key people like Jack, who is establishing connections with various trading partners because the more exchange, the more important security becomes. Smirnov scratched his head. It seems Hiro thought this through more than expected, and he had to. It was his duty as a lord. He turned to Alexia, gave her the freedom to refuse if she did not want to, and still asked though he himself knew it was unwise. But that kindness, when she put everything aside and rushed to save others, is exactly what these children need. One of the children of the warrior tribe, with cat ears, approached her. They asked her to become their teacher. Alexia gently stroked the child's face. They will agree to do it, but only if someone like her suits them. Emerald said that Hiro is a good person, and Amelia agreed with that. He was so skilled that it was almost frightening. Emerald decided not to inquire what exactly was troubling her. To her, but she has her own proposal. At the tournament, Amelia showed all her strength, and over time, the path to becoming the clan leader will open before her. So when Emerald asked her if she wanted to return to the village, Amelia turned to the Hiro. She needed to ask him about it. He scratched the back of his head. Looking away, he thinks it's a good proposal. She could really live with her family again and become a leader in the future. Isn't that wonderful? But Amelia's eyebrows knitted in surprise. What did he mean by family when she was his wife? The Hiro explained that it was just for show, so she didn't need to worry. Besides, families are happier when they are together. Amelia stomped angrily, rushed at him, and slapped him in the face. The Hiro touched his swollen cheek and exclaimed in confusion. And after having previously seen Amelia crying. Because of this, he was scolded by both Gol and Amira, who persistently urged, "Go after Amelia." Although confused, he did as he was told and followed her. Emerald watched them with a sigh. She thought the Hiro was an amazing person, but it turned out he was very inexperienced, and the ancient dragon responded as if it was not surprising. After all, managing a domain is a huge burden, and it's easy to forget that he is still very young, in the prime of his youth. The Hiro found Amelia standing by a tree with her back to him. When she first met him, she thought he was unreliable. The more she was near him, the more she realized he was truly incredible. He used the elixir so effortlessly, had countless divine insights, nasal charms, and even crafted glasses for her. Although the Hiro thought that knowledge and divine revelations just happened to come to him by chance, in reality, he didn't consider himself anything special. He always says that, but he sincerely believes that it is true. Amelia hated that stubbornness, but even that stubbornness. This is one of the reasons why she loves him so much. She stepped closer to him, grabbing his clothes, and she leaned on him. Was she no longer needed? Is that why he tells her to return to the village? Can't she stay with him, or is this really the end? And the Hiro hugged her and apologized. He didn't want that at all. In fact, he loved her too. Amelia dreamed that the Hiro would say it first if they felt the same. Yes, he is still unreliable, but even so, he wanted her to stay. Then they leaned forward, and their lips meet in a kiss. After the confession, they stood shoulder to shoulder, admiring the beautiful landscape. It would be wonderful if they had such a place too. Amelia blushed, thinking he meant her, but he seemed to be talking about the view. Before their return, the Hiro thought that the cultivated fields should already be developed, and at least some crops should have sprouted. He hopes the territory will finally start to look more developed. He doesn't know when, but someday he would also like to leisurely create gardens. Amelia asked anxiously why he was in such a hurry to secure his possessions, and if there was any reason why he encouraged her to return to the village. Suspicions were confirmed when Smirnov brought the craftsman. It became clear that his land faced a serious threat. No, wait, the signs have been there for a long time. At this rate, the finances of the Rotwell territories are about to collapse. At the Count's estate, on the lands of Rotwell, on the table only a bowl of soup and a few pieces of bread. Oliver angrily threw the plate towards the chief and shouted, "What is this?" "Here is the Rotwell family." They were given the title of count and made a shield of the royal family. How dare he serve the head of this house, the food of a commoner? Mary's son swallowed a spoonful of soup, trying to calm his father, and said that it was nice to have that from time to time. Then he turned to the chef and asked how long he had been working for them, and the chef replied, 20 years. So he had been here even before Mary's son was born. After so many years, his salary must be considerable, so he assumed the chef lived quite comfortably. The cook waved his hand, objecting. Since he had 3 daughters, their family budget was constantly burning. The cooking for the count was the highest honor, and his family was proud that he worked for the Rotwell family. "In that case, you are dismissed as of today." The chef dropped to his knees before him, begging for one more chance and X. He bitterly explained that lately it had become harder and harder to get good ingredients. He never wanted to serve anything unworthy, and if he lost his job, his family would be out on the street, and his daughters would probably curse their worthless father for life. Marie-san pondered this. But that really is a bit too cruel. So maybe he will just take his family to work as his personal attendants by the bedside. Mary's son turned to his father and asked for permission, and Oliver simply told him, "Do as you wish." Mary's son happily waved to the boss, who was being dragged away by the guards, and ordered him to quickly take the family away if they escape. He will demand that they all be executed to the last man. Oliver watched Mary's son. He could never read his thoughts, but now that the hero was expelled, he finally shows his true face. It seems that lately he has been secretly plotting intrigues, so if necessary, Oliver will act according to his divine revelation. Mary's son asked Oliver with curiosity if he knew how it all happened. Oliver called Mars. She was both secretary and maid. He asked how the finances were and ordered a report on income and expenses for the quarter to be brought. Mars handed him the report, but as soon as he began to read, shock made him stand up and he overturned the chair. He had so many questions. Why were the tax revenues so low? Why did they receive only half of the expected taxes from the farmers? And why were the fields silent and not yielding a harvest? Mars, sorry for speaking out of turn. But the crops are actually growing. It just seems that the drought hit the harvest. Finally, Oliver learned about this. Due to an eruption deep in the mountains, it rained, so the harvest was not completely destroyed. And with those divine revelations, Marisan's harvest should grow faster than before. Isn't that just an excuse to avoid paying taxes? That's the point. Even despite Marisan's divine revelations, the crops grow slower than before, and that seems to be quite insufficient. And so Mari-san, who read the report, finally understood what was happening. Some trading companies now pay almost no taxes compared to the previous term. That's exactly why tax revenues are falling. The Ardmic Merchants Guild imports incredible volumes of good sea serpent scales, jellyfish eyes, and demon boar meat, each extremely rare and incredibly valuable. Trading companies' taxes depend on income, so if they only buy, there are no taxes. Thus they sell goods in expensive regions and earn without paying taxes. Oliver scolded them and asked where they sourced that merchandise from disgusting timber, which he considered impossible. Mari's son smiled mockingly and told Oliver about a rumor he had heard. Supposedly, in a sinister forest, there is a village that shelters refugees, and in that village a savior who leads a dragon. According to Oliver, that land is cursed, soaked with blood from hunts on werebeasts, so it was all nothing more than a foolish fantasy. He turned to Mars and asked her to bring Lillian, but Lillian had already left, saying she was going to catch up with the hero. As the forest witch, she should know something. Oliver, stunned, exclaimed, "What's going on in the north?" Mars thought they could wait, they were just barbarians, but a few days ago they started invading their territory. Oliver grabbed her by the collar and angrily asked why she hadn't reported it immediately. Hadn't he told her that the barbarians would move through Lillian? Their troops are not inferior to the kingdom's army, and now that they have delayed their response, who knows how much damage they will cause. Suddenly the words of Lillian, spoken earlier in his office, surfaced in his mind. Tax crisis, barbarian invasion, and now refugee settlements under the dragon's protection. How did it come to this? Twins were born, and with them came divine blessings. The harvest in the lands began to grow twice as fast. Oliver was convinced that one of them carried a powerful divine revelation. During the oracle's rite, Mari's son, as the eldest, received the revelation, and the hero was defeated. So he expelled that good-for-nothing, but as a result, the yield fell to less than half, and tax revenues sharply collapsed. Did he make a mistake in his choice? The blessings of the gods, and the matter with the dragon, all of this. Could all this have been the consequence of the hero's revelation? No, it can't be. Wait, didn't he accept his exile as part of some grand plan? No, he's just a born fool, too kind for his own good. Even when he was fired from the company where he worked for 10 years, he didn't complain what an idiot. People just don't change, and he's no exception. After all, he is a famous hero from a previous life. He is the very one who ruined it in their past life. When he appeared at Hashikawa Industries, he froze in shock. He said he was barely coping after losing his parents, but in reality, it was all because of Oliver. That accident was caused by him drunk behind the wheel. It was raining that day, there were no witnesses or cameras, and since the victims were employees of his own company, it was easy to cover up. He even caused a scandal over the life insurance payout, and with that money saved the declining guild, after which he lived comfortably. That's how he lived in this world, because this world is simply arranged that way. Because he is the one who takes from others. In desperate intrigues, he has no equal. So what should he do in this situation? Mary's son leaned on the table and threw out the idea, if I don't come up with a good plan, let the savior work for us. Then Oliver immediately objected they could not possibly do that. Is he suggesting they bow their heads before the disowned heir? That should not happen. The Vile Forest is part of the Rotwell's estate, and they simply allowed the hero to manage it, that's all. If there is a village or a dragon there, they rightfully belong to them. So he came up with a plan he called George. Although he is a minor noble, he handles a sword like a true master, not quite a sword saint, but almost. With the power of the dragon, those northern barbarians could be destroyed in an instant hand. That is exactly how they were destroyed. He ordered George to go to the village and announce the royal decree. The dragon and its tamer must head to the northern front. George led a corps of dragon mercenaries and will become the savior of their land. But if the rumor spreads that the unfortunate heir, exiled but returning accompanied by a dragon, if this becomes known, dissatisfied people may rise up and start a rebellion. Then the village will be called a den of heretics and completely wiped off the map. They could have simply said that the whole village was a gathering of heretics and pretended it never existed. Oliver ordered George to go to the Vile Forest and bring back the dragon with its master. With their power, he once exterminated the northern barbarians. George accepted his order and asked what he should do if they resist. The only thing Oliver wants is the power of the dragon, and with the rest he can do whatever he wants. If he can tame the dragon himself, then the dragon master is no longer needed, but if they dare to defy the royal decree, he can burn the entire village to the ground. George agreed and set off for Wildwood. In the Rotwell State Office, Oliver sat at his desk and thought about this situation. If they gain the power of the dragon, a century of prosperity is guaranteed to them. No, with such strength, the founding of their own state may no longer be just a dream. To the savior of the land, oh, I beg, people are created to fatten their lord and must live subdued, with bowed heads in obedience. Once in a past life he said that if the hero wants to use his knowledge, he would have to be reborn. He was wrong. No matter how much the hero racked his brains and how hard he tried. Take everything from him, even in this world. Back in the demonic forest again. The hero and his companions finally returned to that vile forest again. Amelia apologized. She never thought they would stay in the village for a whole month. The hero reassured her. It's nothing serious. A long rain suddenly started, so nothing can be done. But because of this they learned about various objects and projects, and he also studied real historical geography, so it was worth it. Smirnov asked if it was really possible to be outside the territory for so long, but the hero had already arranged everything so everything would be fine. He sent the ancient dragon and Amira ahead to keep watch. Jewel also went with them, so if something happened, he was sure they would tell him about it. Smirnov warned him not to lower his guard. As you see, outside the nest it is extremely dangerous everywhere, and the hero wondered what that could mean. When Natasha came across the tracks of a large pack of demonic wolves. So they are still here, somewhere nearby. The hero exclaimed in shock when the demonic wolf jumped out of the bushes behind him. Smirnov and Natasha jumped up and rushed to him. But it turned out to be just a little puppy. Suddenly Joel and Amira popped out of the bushes, declaring that Hiro had caught Carol for them. Then the hero stunnedly saw Gol and Amira and asked who this Carol was. This was the baby's name given by the ancient dragon. Amelia froze, realizing that the creature was. It was a super rare, evolutionarily advanced demonic wolf Cerberus. Joel explained that Cerberus Caro was bullied, so she helped them. If he stayed outside, he would be teased again. But the ancient dragon behaved badly and said he would not let him into the house. He said that if Hiro allowed, Carol could stay, so she asked Hiro if Carol could stay at home. Hiro turned to Natasha and asked if they could keep the demon wolf, and she replied that it was not a problem. If taken care of, he would consider them part of his pack and bond with people, and if well trained, he could even be used for hunting or as a guard. Joel begged Hiro to keep Carol, and after thinking, Hiro said that he agreed to let Carol onto the territory. Smirnov and Natasha looked wary the divine Lord Dragon and Cerberus as a pair could probably wipe several countries off the face of the earth. Amira crouched down, a smile playing on her face. At least now they no longer had to fear that frightened allies would intimidate them. Joel agreed. Now that Carol had become part of the family, she could tell everyone that there was no need to worry anymore. Then she suddenly remembered. She informed Hiro that there was trouble at home, and everyone said they wanted to talk to him as soon as he returned. Hearing this, he rushed after Joel, his mind racing and considering all possible options. What kind of trouble? Did monsters or bandits break in? No, maybe some kind of epidemic. He thought everything was fine since the ancient dragon was nearby, so what had happened? And as soon as they reached this territory, they froze in amazement. The village no longer looked like ruins. Instead, the fields were well tended, and the manor was fully restored. So it was indeed a big deal in a good sense. The ancient dragon approached them, and noted that it seemed Caro had also been accepted. Hiro scolded him for leaving such a small child out on the street, and the ancient dragon reasoned that Joel had encountered Caro only after the barrier was established. This is a barrier spell that dragons use to protect their treasures. Anyone with hostile intentions or not approved by the Lord cannot pass through it, no exceptions, so once it is cast, nothing can be done. Hiro could not understand why anyone would set up a barrier that made ancient dragons frown. What did he mean by why? Did he really think that 30 carriage pieces were enough payment to patrol the sky every day? As long as the barrier is raised, enemies cannot get through. Everything should be fine, right? Hiro countered, if he raises such a barrier, then what are they supposed to do when new settlers arrive? At that moment, Jack popped up behind to calm him down. He was sure the ancient dragon had no bad intentions. He teased him, saying that if he had come back even later, he would have already turned all the leftover money into drinks. Wait, what did he mean by leftovers? Jack scratched his head. He was really surprised. He brought tools for the farm, and barely 2 weeks had passed when he found out they had already harvested wheat and soy. What is now green in the fields is from that new batch they sowed. For now, the warehouse is completely full, so the surplus was sold in the city, and the earnings were added to the hero's personal funds. 2 harvests in a month it must be. It must be the result of the hero's heavenly revelation. If so, they will be able to overcome the acute food shortage, but the quick harvest may cause other problems. He called the woman near the fields to ask about any problems that life throws at her every day. In fact, there are not enough hands. The crops grow so fast that they have to constantly clear new plots and rotate the fields, otherwise the land will simply be exhausted. The hero thought that the land here is depleted faster than in the Rotwell fields. The woman sighed and agreed, and the men did not help at all. The mansion repairs and barn construction went wonderfully, but since then they barely work, and every day all they do is invite the ancient dragon to drinking parties. They said there were not enough carpenters, so they sent the guys there to help, and the women went to clear the fields themselves while the men loafed around. The hero glanced at the ancient dragon, all wet with sweat, so that's how it is. He had to immediately talk to everyone. He asked the women to call the men and come to the estate, and Amira and others also rushed to gather people. And so, just as they went to do as he said, right here. The hero looked at Jack and sharply asked, "How much personal assets do you have?" There were 300 gold coins in his account. The hero nodded, but he soon screamed in shock when he realized how large the sum was. Jack explained that the money came from the sale of extremely rare materials, ingredients, and also the harvest, so this price was already significantly reduced. 1 gold coin is as much as 10 silver coins, and an ordinary family earns about 250 silver coins per year. So with just his own funds, he could actually manage this territory for 10 years. They can compensate for the lack of labor with packs of beastfolk. Of course, there will be various expenses, but it seems enough for everyone to hold out for some time. Amelia thought in surprise. What did he mean? Could he really be going to take care of all the citizens himself, although he wouldn't just say take care? In fact, he is supported by the people. They pay taxes, give money, and harvest. He lives off this, so when the nobility lives in luxury, the people suffer. Those who have high status or position bear equally great social responsibility and duties. Thus, being the ruler of the land, he naturally must support the people with everything he can. His group did not agree with him. They were sure this cannot be the norm. Amelia understands what he is talking about, but does not consider it right to take full responsibility for someone else's life. Those who came here are not beggars. She's not sure if she can fully understand it, but asked him to tell them what exactly he is trying to do. What the hero wanted to create was a world without hunger. No, that's not it. He wants to create a society where no walls are built, and people lend a shoulder and support each other. He shook hands, a habit from a previous life. He believed that this world was filled with a bunch of ineffective and cruel things. In feudal society, there are effectively only 2 sides: those who exploit and those who are exploited. The nobility presses with heavy taxes and lives in luxury, while ordinary people continue to suffer. However, having this knowledge, he knows many ways to multiply wealth. If he manages to turn them into a system where profit remains even with high taxes, he believes they can create a stable society with a high level of well-being. If they manage to build a town where everyone will live happily, neighboring lands and even other countries will want to copy it. This is exactly how he wants to spread it step by step. Circle of happiness. Amelia wondered if it was really possible to change how the world is arranged, but the hero just smiled. Until now he had always been the one who was helped, and now it was his turn to show what he was capable of. First, he will force every citizen to participate in public works. When everyone gathered at Lord's estate, Hiro sincerely thanked them for repairing the estate and houses while he was away. He just learned about the situation, and having weighed everything, decided action must be taken immediately. So he would like to ask all of you that they all take up some public works. The villages were puzzled, and this made Smirnov sigh. He had told him, hadn't he? He had never heard of it, and he said it was simply because Smirnov was from a noble family and could not have known. Well, if even farmers and builders don't know about it, then nothing can be done, the hero will explain quickly. Lords who own lands sometimes lead construction themselves, building bridges or castle gates. Public works are essentially the same idea. He will pay for it and wants everyone to help build and develop this district. Smirnov asked, what exactly are they building? A road, a bridge, or maybe a villa? She was delighted. It seemed incredible to her. Then they can place them anywhere on the territory. Just let him know before they start where they intend to build. Smirnov was outraged. Isn't that too much? The hero turned to him and asked with surprise if Smirnov thought that building their own homes was too much. Smirnov frowned and told him not to pretend he didn't know when nobles build something. It's really just another way to tax people. They force those who can't pay taxes to build roads and bridges, and then charge tolls to cover unpaid taxes. They force them to build houses only to later tax them for living in them. Yes, it's a quick way to collect money, but even for a kind-hearted lord like him, it seems too coercive. The peasants agreed with him, saying they have nothing now, so if the hero acts like that, they will have to hang themselves. They said for the people, but forced them to build things that only benefit themselves. Hiro knew well that this had happened before. He asked them not to worry, said he would pay wages and not take taxes. Wait, now Smirnov is even more puzzled. He is going to build houses for them, let them live in them for free, and even pay wages. Is this a joke? Jokingly, Hiro explained that the pay would be only during construction, and only about 20 silver coins, and Smirnov asked what the hell Hiro was planning to do. The hero enthusiastically declared that public works goals are conditionally divided into 3 groups: industrial development, improving quality of life, and maintaining territory. Since this land is still completely self-sufficient and undeveloped, it is necessary to invest funds and lay the foundation for industry, and public works are part of this effort. Smirnov agreed that this might be true, but isn't this still a domain? He can't manage the domain without tax revenues, so how does he plan to get taxes just by building houses? That is why improving quality of life is extremely important. When living standards rise, productivity also increases, and the harvest grown here will be distributed worldwide through trading companies. And the profits from those companies come in the form of taxes, and with that money, they can finance even more projects. Jack is sincerely impressed by the hero's plan how to revive the economy on a patch of land where it seemed there was nothing. Today he learned something new. But this is still only the foundation. At first, they will effectively allocate resources, and their primary goal is to stabilize the economy. Back then, everything hinged on the lack of people. If this continued, everything would inevitably collapse, but the hero reassured him, "Don't worry, we will handle this. The children of the cat-eared tribe will work." One of the peasants suspiciously asked if he had gone to the beastfolk village to buy slaves, but the hero denied it. That was not the case. Indeed, these children were left without parents and without a home. But recently Amelia won a martial arts tournament, and thanks to this, they were allowed to borrow these children as labor for the territory. In return, they promised to teach and care for them. They and the Varkadir tribe are allies, so there is no hierarchy between them. For now, they will remain at the estate, and the next project he plans to commission is the construction of dormitories and a school. The peasant crossed his arms over his chest. He understood what the hero aimed for, but there really were no children around their village, so he was not sure everything would go so smoothly. Although they still had a tiny doubt, they warmly welcomed the children anyway. They asked to be called Dad and Mom because they themselves consider all of them their children. Amelia never imagined that communicating with people could make her so happy, and here it is, the circle of happiness the hero spoke about. Meanwhile, the cover of his book changed a sign that he earned 1 point. It seems this is also a good deed. He must properly repay the joy he received. Well then, now he will show everyone his divine revelation. When someone does a good deed, divine revelation grants scriptures from the gods themselves, but which scripture falls is decided by luck. And then he activated the divine revelation, the lottery of divine scriptures. He received a rare rank, the scripture of Dionysus, the god of intoxication. She replied that she already felt better. Yuri said so. It seems to be a plant called, nicknamed the breath of generosity and madness. It sounds a bit ominous, maybe it's poisonous. If planted on the land, it could cause some trouble, so it's better for them to just throw it into the fireplace and get rid of it. But the peasants stopped him. They say the seeds he was about to throw belong to a grape variety that is extinct. It's a premium, top-tier variety. Usually, grapes take more than 10 years to start producing a harvest, but this variety yields clusters in just 3 years. There is even a legend that its taste was so divine that the gods took it from the mortal world to make wine for themselves. If these grapes are really that incredible, can't they make a signature delicacy of their land from them? But Amelia was afraid that people would suspect something bad if supposedly extinct grapes suddenly appeared on the market. Jack, a great merchant, had already come up with a solution. It was enough to say that it came from the vile forest, and many explanations could be invented. Living on crumbs from an ancient dragon is not very heroic, and the income is sad, so making wine from this grape is a good idea. It seems the time has come for Amelia and the children of the warrior tribe with cat ears to shine. Brewing sake is traditionally a woman's job, so they decided to leave it to them. Smirnov agreed. He is not one to believe in superstitions, but there is a legend if anyone other than a pure girl damages the sake, the gods will be angry and the entire batch will spoil. They say these grape clusters are sacred to the gods, so it is probably better to honor the tradition. The hero also agreed. The seeds were a gift from the gods, so if they are going to brew according to the legend, it is better to entrust it to Amelia and the others. But that's not all besides the usual farming work and land cultivation. And they will also have to take care of the grapevines and make the wine themselves. After all those hardships with gathering the farm lands, they will still end up short of people. The hero needed to think this through to the end. When it comes to people on the team, there is no reason to rush. If they openly recruit people, no one knows who might slip in. If they bring settlers, they desperately need reliable security measures. Even if they hired craftsmen, they would have to hand over an extinct variety, and there is no guarantee that they won't spill the beans before it appears on the market. So maybe he should cultivate the land himself and brew beer, but is that even realistic? In his past life, he carried everything on his own. Work, household chores, even taking care of his little sister. There was no choice. He had to do it, so he did. If he pushes himself a little, he will probably manage everything. As if reading his thoughts, Amelia immediately objected. There is no way he can manage an entire territory alone. So he really needs to rely on them, just. As soon as he was about to do everything himself again, wasn't he? The hero laughed awkwardly. It seemed she had seen right through him. He hoped that in the city there would be people ready to help and work together with everyone. He was just a little nervous, that's all, and Amelia was confident that everything would be fine. Still, the circle of happiness he talked about is already starting to spread, so she is sure wonderful people will be drawn to this vile forest. After all, they say happiness attracts even more happiness. At the same time, George and his people finally reached the hero's lands, but we were stopped by the barrier of an ancient dragon. One of his people asked what to do and suggested returning to the Rotwell's territory to come up with a new plan, but they will never do that. Soon he suddenly moved forward, hearing how Joel together with Amira and Caro asked who he was. The ancient dragon warned them, if someone cannot pass through the barrier, it means he is a bad person, so be careful, and as soon as they remembered Rotwell. Hearing about the dragon, George finally believed the rumors, immediately changed his expression, and sharply told Joel that she was all confused. He pretended to be unhappy, said he heard that there was supposedly a village somewhere here, so they fled from Rotwell and came all the way here. So he asked her to tell Hiro that people who are seeking help have gathered here. Joel immediately rushed back to the manor and excitedly informed her father that trouble had happened, because a bunch of stinky people had come. When they arrived there, George apologized for the sudden visit and for disturbing them. They had heard about the savior and fled here hoping for rescue. But suddenly a wall grew before them, and they did not know what to do at all. It was then that they met a girl and asked her to deliver a message to the savior. Joel said that there were stinky people here, so he wondered what was that. Well, that man said that ordinary people had gathered, Hiro could not understand. Were they refugees from somewhere? But Smirnov told him that they wore a well-tailored canopy. George asks the savior, no. Remember the sword saints of Smirnov, if he could let them in. Smirnov was by no means something grand. If they have a request, let them tell this guy. Hiro scratched the back of his head and told them that he is the lord here. George suddenly realized this was an exiled child, and the place was the same village rumored to be protected by dragons. He heard that the Sword Saint renounced his noble title and left the city, but he could never imagine ending up in such a place. And this outfit like a warrior tribe with cat ears, plus a few lizard people. He sees no dragons, but with such military strength, this is quite unexpected. First, he needs to come up with a convincing reason to enter peacefully. The hero invited them to the manor to talk, but Smirnov stopped him. If you just let anyone in, the barrier loses all meaning. The guys are well dressed, but where they are from is unknown, and what if they are bandits or criminals? The hero thinks they were just like Smirnov. The fact that they fled all the way here shows how desperate they are. They can't just abandon people like that. It is precisely such kindness that will one day make him suffer, as if on command. George's servant grabs Amelia and the ancient dragon. He was grateful to this inept lord because thanks to him he could achieve his goal. He ordered everyone to stand still because even one suspicious movement, and he would not guarantee the lives of their comrades. They act for the good of the country. He came to deliver the royal order to Hiro, and Hiro will immediately set out to the battlefield as part of their army. George does not know what the hero's father is planning, but he must understand what it means. The hero refuses. His task is to defend this territory, not to wage war. In that case, these people will suffer until he agrees. If he did not want them to use force, he had no choice but to obey the order. The hero coldly made it clear, if they resort to force they themselves will have to suffer. He just wants to avoid a senseless conflict. One of the minions could not stand his arrogance and was about to show what they were capable of, but trembled when Amelia grabbed his hand and threw him to the ground. She knew from the very beginning that they planned to deceive the hero and will not forgive them for taking advantage of people's kindness. Fat Man hit her, but she managed to duck to avoid the blow, even before grabbing his legs in, and then pulled the rope up so that he lost his balance. If he resists, he won't come out whole and unharmed. Hiro stopped her and said sternly, "You can't solve anything with a fight." Amelia apologized before letting go of the fat man, but at that moment, another henchman tried to sneak up from behind and attack. Fortunately, Jewel gave him a flying kick right in the face. Meanwhile, the little dragon asks why they are doing this. The fat man lunges at her, but the hero instantly jumps to cover her. The fat man couldn't believe his eyes. His iron fist was blocked. An arrow flew from afar. But George easily deflected it. He knows that above the estate an archer and warns his comrades, whoever can shoot so accurately from such a distance is a true master. He ordered his comrades to calm down. Hiding high in the tree crowns, Garius was surprised that George noticed him. A lower-ranking nobleman decisively ordered everyone to guard the estate, and those who could fight to form ranks. The hero insisted that this conflict was senseless and suggested resolving it through conversation. George replied that if he thinks so, then let him obey the decree. Does he want to die here? The ancient dragon finally spoke, asking who the fool here was. He understood that this could be resolved by talking, but they would not calm down until they fought. People are barbarians. The man holding him shut his mouth and called him a lizard. He then asked George's boss what was going on here. We came because George said you could find dragon materials, but around there are only lizards. Is this a joke? The ancient dragon finally saw that their true goal was power over the dragon clan, but they chose the wrong path. Because whom they just raised a fist against is the Golden Hope, who will one day rule the dragon clan. He is the teacher of Lord Gol, who was entrusted to protect this land. Silver Wing. The intruder froze in shock upon seeing the ancient dragon, and he wondered if it was the legendary Silver Dragon. The ancient dragon looked piercingly at them and grimly declared that they would pay for disrespecting the divine dragon lord. Even if their souls vanished from the foundations of this world, they have no complaints, right? He gathered energy in his jaws and fired at those idiots, but it was just a hangover breath. To see these people fall. Only that, and he snorted. Phew, how it stinks, you know. So that stinker actually turned out to be an ancient dragon. The ancient dragon advised to take these people outside while the hero still could, so they could no longer enter. The boy agreed. And looking at his father's decree, he learned that Oliver wanted him to be in the dragon clan. If this continues, the Rotwell territory will be engulfed in flames of war in about half a year, and then problems with trade and refugees will accumulate again. But this territory cannot be finished in half a year. Maybe he should go to his father. No, that won't work. Knowing the hero's character, Smirnov told him that worrying was pointless. After today, he realized, the master's abilities are not just great, they are bottomless. But he had nothing against how the hero thinks. They say you can't cure a fool until he dies, but here are a bunch of people who would get into trouble if that fool died. So he will protect Master Hiro at all costs, but Hiro himself must defend this territory at any price. He doesn't know how to protect this place. Hiro knew how. If necessary, he will tell Smirnov everything. He put his hand on his shoulder and said he was counting on him. In the Lord's office in the Wildwood territory, the size of the Hiro. Realizing that these documents are not decreasing, it seems he will have to work until morning again. The last 2 months since he started ordering public works, he has been constantly drowning in papers, administrative matters, orders for building materials, public works commission forms, building management documents, business reports, income and expense documents, and many applications. He remembered how his father could find time to rest while dealing with all those paper matters, but Hiro didn't even have time to sleep. He cannot despair. Smirnov is also counting on him. Amelia appears and asks him for a little time. The cargo that previously arrived from the trading company brought sugar packed together with seashells, and she wondered if Hiro knew anything about it. And it was he who ordered those shells. He felt sorry to waste paper and parchment on lessons, so he decided to make his own writing instruments, and since the fields yield so quickly, they will come in handy there too. When the time comes, he will explain everything in detail, but he did not order sugar. So she did just that, asked it to bake these cookies. The Hiro praised her. "What delicious sweets you have." But she explained that all the good products were baked by the teacher. She was still studying, and her baking was completely different from other teachers. In the left hand, Smirnov, in the right, her own. They may not look good, but she guarantees the taste. The Hiro took a bite and agreed. No matter the shape, they are tasty. Amelia came closer to pull something out of his mouth, and noticed that the bags under his eyes looked like those of a corpse, had he not slept the whole night again. Sweets also wonderfully relieve fatigue, so he needs to rest well from time to time. The Hiro nestled against her, and just like that, he felt calm. Smirnov entered the room without knocking. He wanted to say something. Rich but froze in amazement, seeing how close their heads were. The two instantly recoiled from each other and they awkwardly ate the cookies before telling Smirnov that his cookies were incredibly tasty. Smirnov was delighted to hear this. He told the master that the peasants were saying something about the field, but he himself knew nothing about farming, so he wondered if the master Hiro could listen to them. Lately the Hiro couldn't inspect them, so he went out excitedly to check. Walking, he greeted the peasant with a smile. Looking at it, the population really increased. 20 refugees arrived because a war broke out in the north, and he was very glad that they ended up here. In the northern village, forestry and land cultivation are thriving, and the usable land has increased significantly. After all, they now have plenty of fine wood, so they can get materials on site themselves, and even built a school from them. The fields have expanded significantly, so the harvest increased, and for the last 2 months they have been in the black. He hoped more people would come. But he felt that it wouldn't pass so easily. This territory always harbors problems. He is eager to accept as many war refugees and people seeking to settle as possible. If that happens, their tax revenues will increase, but his father's tax revenues will decrease. If Oliver finds out, he definitely won't like it, and there is also a royal decree in the worst case. This territory will go to his father. Suddenly Smirnov grabbed him and told him that he was about to fall into a pile of manure. He thought, is the master losing his mind because he is not getting enough sleep? The Hiro apologized for being lost in thought and he was quite surprised when he saw that the fields had already yielded a harvest. Usually, they waited 3 years for the harvest. But the trees grew abnormally fast and immediately began to bear fruit. The flowers bloomed 2 weeks ago, so they were pruned. Yesterday they thinned out those that were growing poorly, and already this morning the fruits were ripe. Amelia was convinced that it was due to divine revelation, and the Hiro thought that his action only speeds everything up by about 7 times, so the grape harvest will last half a year. Well, even if he looks at those other crops, such speed cannot be explained by that level alone. Corn and soybeans are harvested weekly, and wheat produces ears in 2 weeks. To prove this rapid growth, dodged her sword. At that moment, a shaman goblin checked his divine revelation, and suddenly realized the effect was 14 times. The farmer showed him a barrel of grapes, the one they thinned yesterday. And when the Hiro opened it, he was shocked seeing that in 1 day it had turned into wine. Usually fermentation starts about a week later, so the farmer thinks that divine power is also manifesting here. Now Amelia was sincerely grateful for the divine revelation because she got incredible results. But Hiro explained that it was not only the merit of the divine revelation. After all, it was the achievement of all citizens. Here the crops grow fast, so the harvests are abundant, but farmers do not relax because of this. The ancient dragon and the rest go hunting so that everyone is full and can work without hunger. The kittens can study and work in peace because Amelia always reconciles them. Every day Smirnoff goes on patrol, and it is precisely because of this that there are no quarrels on the territory, so everyone lives in peace. All who came to this land worked tirelessly. If he strained too much, the burden would fall on everyone, so he decided that today and tomorrow would be days off. They would celebrate the harvest together, and the ancient dragon who descended from the sky told Hiro that what they hunted today would become the main dish of the banquet. He missed their main dishes when they hit the ground. A thick cloud of dust rose. And now they show the catoblepus. It has a sinister, deadly gaze. It was recognized as a monster of national disaster level, so Smirnoff warned everyone to hide. The ancient dragon said to them, "Relax," because Joel had already destroyed the evil eye. The hero burned the dragon. He was told that catablip is its evil eye. If you just get into its field of vision, death comes instantly, so it was too dangerous for Gol to hunt it. When he was ordered to think more carefully about the evil eye's ability, Hiro realized if someone gets into its field of vision, everyone dies instantly. The dragon laughed and asked if he understood now. If you dig back, it turns out to be a curse and undead imposed on people. For the dragon clan, Catablipus is just a cow. Yet this cow is a rare species. Even for dragons, its meat can be tasted only once every few decades. After all, the ancient dragon knew the land where they felled the Catablipus. The hero anxiously thought whether this could become a source of trouble somewhere. The dragon assured him, "It will be fine. There is neither a source of trouble nor meat there." It was exactly there where they felled the Catablipus that the great tomb of Arca stood. In the castle, the man knelt and said that the Catablipuses guarding the gates had been killed. The one who sits on the throne irritably replies that whoever plunders his place will not be forgiven. He heard that the northern demon leader is busy preparing for war, so who is doing this? Seeing a great crack in the ground, he immediately understood who did it, and he thought that the man still had not gotten rid of his bad habits. Seeing a trail of blood leading into the disgusting forest, he realized it was the hideout of that bastard. He called the ancient dragon a petty lizard and promised that his undead army would surely tear his live nails off. Meanwhile, these groups encountered the undead and wondered why such creatures ended up here, while their leader ordered the mages to erect a barrier and protect the wagons. The man who had a cold asked the trash people about the dragon's hideout. These people did not know this place. They had only heard rumors about the village protected by dragons, where the man flicked his finger. And now, having found out where the dragon's lair is hiding, he muttered that he would enjoy this to the fullest. Forest on the territory of Rotwell, the southern road of the Vilewood forest. The merchant awkwardly apologized to the master for troubling him to come here personally. Caravans disappear one after another in these lands. It was here that the last message came from the caravan that was supposed to deliver supplies to the Warketi tribe. The hero sees no station nearby and wonders, how do they even communicate? Jack said that every caravan of the trading company must have magical crystals with them. During conversations, the communication spell cast on them immediately shows where the transmission is coming from. Several caravans have already lost contact in this place, so Jack thought that this might be an escape route for defectors, but this time they disappeared despite the escort. To look for clues that they will let Caro follow the scent, she immediately finds everyone in hide and seek, and also looks for lost items. Kerbury have a keener sense of smell than ordinary magical wolves and can detect scent traces left several months ago. If well trained, they can even recognize poisons and diseases. After receiving a personal item from someone in the caravan, the hero slipped this item to Kiro, let her sniff it, and ordered her to find it, promising a catablippa steak as a reward. Kiro sniffs the air before starting the search. Joel looked around and felt that the forest was so eerie. She asks her dad if a ghost might come out of there, and that makes Jack laugh. With such company, the ghosts should be the ones afraid. He felt that she meant it was somehow gloomy and creepy here. Such a place is simply a find for a hideout, just what robbers need. But with the ancient dragon's barrier, it seemed impossible. The dragon himself made him understand that this was not quite so. The barrier he set repels those whom the hero does not recognize and those with malicious intent. But when they decided to let refugees into the territory, this requirement regarding those unrecognized by the hero simply fell apart. As soon as the conditions crumble, the effect disappears. Now anyone who does not wish harm to the hero can pass here. Still, to survive in this forest, they had to be true masters. It would not be surprising if they captured entire caravans. When asked about the size of the caravan, Jack replied that it was one cart with 2 merchants and 3 guards, 2 swordsmen, and 1 wizard. All 3 were adventurers of rank A, hired by the guild of the royal capital. The hero was confused. Why were the escorts rank A, when usually the escort level is set higher than the value of the cargo? For everyday items, a C rank would have been quite suitable, but this time everything was special because, besides daily necessities, this cargo carried one more thing: the hero's wine. Only people of rank A were needed, who could sign secret contracts. Without them, it was impossible. The hero was sure that the escorts did not touch the cargo, and wondered where this road led. This road leads beyond this border to the Holy Duchy of Sassaka. There is only the duchy and the Great Tomb of Arca. If so, then this is very bad. Because according to the hero's assumptions, they could have ended up captive in Holy Sissaka, and the dragon thoughtfully wondered what he meant. Knowing that the war was raging in the northern lands, why would the south take prisoners? The kingdom of Asgard, the sacred Sissakadachi, and the northern kingdom of demons have been continuously at war over land since ancient times, and the balance between them is maintained by a non-aggression treaty concluded by the papal court. If that balance is broken and the north begins an invasion, the Duchy of Sassaka will feel that it is falling behind. In that case, the first place it will rush to is. This is the territory, the contact point with the kingdom of Asgard, the demonic great forest Vilewood. If they managed to find even something, they would have proof, but there were too few traces. Fortunately, it seems that Caro is finding something. Wagon of the missing caravan. The cargo was abandoned, no signs of battle, and this confuses even more, as if only the people disappeared. When someone moved from afar, those who saw the skeleton's treasure, Joel immediately hugged her dad, thinking they were ghosts. When one of the skeletons lunged at them, Kara rushed to help him, pressing him to the ground. Surrounded, the dragon clicked its tongue and reluctantly took its other form, and easily cut through the skeletons. He silently waited for the young master's command. He noticed that the dead quickly came to life and thought that their master was probably truly skilled. When physical attacks proved useless, he prepared to unleash Dragon's Breath. But the hero sharply stopped him as soon as he noticed the magical crystal of the trading company. This put everything in place. He was sure these undead came from the caravan. From afar, the skeleton shouted to the silver dragon, "Accept the consequences for robbing the king's tomb." The hero caught himself thinking, was that undead necromancer really guilty in this matter? Without answering, the ancient dragon suddenly appeared in his original form and ordered them to sit on his back. He soared into the sky, planning to set a barrier and burn the curse, because this is the only way to free those who became undead. He caused them pain with his actions, so now he must mourn them with the deepest respect. He exhaled fire, the dragon's requiem, and then he directly hit the caravan people, who thanked him. He revealed that the place where he caught the Catablipus stood the great tomb of Arca, and as soon as the necromancer realized it was him who did it, he tracked him down. This event is undoubtedly the work of the master of that place. He had dealt with him more than once, but never thought the necromancer would descend to human settlements. Because it would soon get dark, Hiro ordered him to return to the territory and hoped that everyone was safe. Meanwhile, near the hero's estate, the undead were visible. While Amelia hides the children, protecting them from danger, she stood up, ordered the peasant to close the gates, to barricade the doors from the inside when she left, and assured them that they would not lose. Outside, she was chopping down several undead. Smirnov shouted to everyone, "Ignite!" They were the last line of defense. After all, the enemy was undead. If they held out until dawn, victory would be theirs. Amelia asked if Alexia could repair the barrier, but she replied that it was impossible. The formula was too complex for her, she could not comprehend it, and the cause of the breach was not magic either. It seemed something else was obstructing. For now, she placed a barrier on the breach to cover it, but she does not believe she can hold them back if they break through. They could not comprehend who that man was, who broke the barrier of the ancient dragons and single-handedly commanded such a huge army. Speaking of that man, the necromancer who is now seated on the skeleton. He is calling even more undead. Smirnov became quite worried. With such numbers, they will not hold out until morning. And then the ancient dragon appeared. Victory over the undead. When asked if everyone was okay, Smirnov gratefully thanked him for saving them and reported that all citizens were evacuated to the manor, no casualties. Although the undead destroyed the barrier, Alexia still held them back. The ancient dragon came out to meet Arkard, the undead king, and asked if he was tired of playing with corpses. Arkard told Yashtarov that they hadn't seen each other for a long time and asked if Caplipus was a tribute to the people. Wait a minute, the hero knew Arkard turned out to be the mythical ancestor of vampires. Could it be that they are really fighting the strongest necromancer in history? As soon as the ancient dragon ignited this fire, he told Hiro that he would handle it himself. But if they fight seriously, harm is inevitable. He proposes to declare the territory around the estate as his treasure vault. It is the most powerful barrier technique of the dragon clan. It can be cast only once in a lifetime, but in return it protects against all evils and attacks. He has clashed with Arkard more than once, and all his fights are defeats, but thanks to Hiro, he became stronger and now does not feel that he is losing to him. Now the battle is about to begin, and they can only watch his heroic figure from the estate. But before that, he activated the dragon treasury to protect the estate. Push a strike that flies in an arc from afar. Who understands that breaking this most powerful barrier technique of the dragon clan will be extremely difficult. The dragon gathered pulsating energy in his hand, and before unleashing the dragon's explosion, destroying everything that stands in its way, when they already thought it was all over. Or Arkard spoke from afar. He wondered, had he really become stronger if his attack didn't even break the spell formula of such a level? Using necromancy formula number 2, Wall of Corpses, Arkard found himself in trouble. The dragon tried to sneak up and attack back, but he easily avoided it. The dragon lunged into attack again, but he managed to block it. It instantly crouched to dodge the kick. The ancient dragon aimed precisely, but his mind was still superficial. Arkard sharply strikes him with a bone in response. Arkard's weapon is necromancer formula number 4, Spears of Corpses, and he mockingly threw to the dragon, "The earth suits you better than the boundless sky." The skeletons surrounded the dragon, and he easily broke through them, transforming. Arkard calmly told him that this is the end, while covering the dragon with bones. The ancient dragon was caught using necromancy formula number 666, the spear burial ritual. As Arkard said, this dragon's thinking is superficial. She sharply told the vampire not to touch her grandfather. The dragon warned GL that it was dangerous and told her, even if it costs a life, he will protect this land. The hero sharply interrupted and asked, "What are you saying?" and loudly declared that this is their territory, so they will all protect him together. He decisively ordered everyone to take positions and prepare for battle. He will put everyone under his control and awaken his divine revelation. Just activated divine revelation. They felt the power flowing through them. But Archer doubts, with such power they will not withstand the pressure of his army. The hero sincerely believes in folk wisdom, attack is the best defense. But Arkard still did not believe that ordinary people could match his army. Alexia fully activated the entire firepower of the elven race. But Arkard was confident she would not be able to break his shield when she let him go. But Arkard could not believe that his protective magic was destroyed. The time has come to save the ancient dragon. The ancient dragon transformed back into a human. The form, and after the rescue, Hiro ordered the civilians to evacuate to the manor. He turned to the dragon and anxiously asked if it was okay. The dragon apologized for letting its guard down. Arkard could not believe that he was deceived by a simple person, and stunned, asked why the hero made such sacrifices for the sake of a little lizard. And the ancient dragon is a dear comrade, and the one who provides these lands with food. As a lord, he will never betray his comrades. So it seems Arkard will have to forcibly take the ancient dragon. The hero will do everything to protect him. Both sides froze in silence. They froze in anticipation until everyone rushed into the attack. Arkard remembered the boy's words, "Attack is the best defense," and told him that this land was once trampled by people. A sea of blood was spilled here. This is a cursed place. Only the sheer number will crush their defense, so he ordered his undead to trample the enemy. Ranks of the hero's side forms, determined to crush them. The arrow rose into the air and successfully hit the enemies. And the enemy does not stop, its pressure does not subside. The hero pulled himself together and did not let panic take hold of him. He believed that the moment was decisive. Defense when there is a lack of strength, offense when there is more than enough. Those defensive skills hidden under the 9 earths, and those offensive ones rising above the 9 heavens, that is how they preserve themselves and achieve complete victory. At his command, Alexia activated the tornado arrow to destroy the enemies. When they thought they had finally done it, a sudden attack was about to fall upon her, but he quickly pushed her away to avoid it, as he thought there were more enemies. If this continues, our frontline will not hold. The necromancer's power is proportional to the magic he possessed in life. He believes that with elven magic Alexia will be able to defeat them. She cast a spell to disrupt the enemy's attack, and with the hero's command, Amelia swiftly fired her super divine SB, a rapid barrage of heavy arrows. She managed to hit many, but one enemy slipped past the village, so she couldn't finish him off. If this continues, they will gradually be crushed, but until they break the formation, Hiro believes everything will be fine. While Smirnov's group prepares for hand-to-hand combat, the archers will cover the vanguard, and Alexia will take on the magical response. The undead rush at them, but they use tree trunks. Smirnov's group decisively stops them. They can no longer advance. That's it. All they have left is to strike those who break through. Archer told them that their tactics only work in human conflicts, and against his troops they are worthless. The undead were sneaking underground, and caught every single one. Checkmate. And what will this hero do now? This is exactly what the hero desired, but if the front line is blocked, Arkard will come to suppress the rear. He simply listens to the voices of the dead. With this card of voice sounds, he has a limit on the number of corpses he can raise at once, and once they rot, there will be no second time. The undead no longer wanted to do this, and begged to be released. Arkard could not believe he had several divine revelations at once, but looking at those corpses resting on this land, he understood the advantage of his army is unshakable. The hero knew that at this pace they would not be able to resist the undead army, but that is exactly why they fight, uniting the forces of all. Until now, everything was just preparation to unleash their full firepower. The real battle begins right now. While the power of GOL was fully charged, the ancient dragon could at least breathe one dragon breath. This is a critical moment. They are now launching the operation, Dragon's Roar. When the dragon rose into the air, Arkard noticed the barrel and wondered what is it for. He knew it was a human idea and wondered whether they would spray oil and ignite it with one breath, or if the barrels contained gunpowder to increase the power. The dragon drops it and sets it on fire. It explodes from his hellish breath. Archer praised their idea, but honestly explained that it did not impress him. He was shocked when he saw the huge crater. The hero ordered the rear outpost to evacuate through the barrier. They would hold out until morning. Then he told the vampire directly what they used was not magic, but magnesium, which was supposed to be scattered across the field. When magnesium burns, it gives an incredibly bright, blinding light. Archard froze in admiration. This boy knew how to turn agricultural tools into weapons, and he could not understand where the child got such knowledge. But he had already seen someone similar, a person with knowledge you hadn't even heard of, and with leadership qualities surpassing even experienced veterans. To find out who he really was, he used his gift and read him. After that, he finally understood that. They say he was blessed by divine favor. If left alone, the boy could become a force that distorts the laws of this world. You need to be removed from this world. Smirnov strongly advises his master to hide inside quickly. But Arkard had already rushed into attack. Smirnov blocks it and realizes that this legendary necromancer is not. He was not a specialist in martial arts. In such a state, even Smirnov can turn out to be a real challenge. Arkard acknowledged his skill in swordsmanship, but directly stated that he was not his target, and still Smirnov also clearly emphasized this. That his job was to protect the master. Unleashes attacks with a courtly fencing style. The vampire easily deflects it. Smirnov attacks again, uses the demonic eagle slash. But his sword is powerless here against these sturdy shields. With clumsy provocations, Smirnov charged into attack again and again. The ancient dragon slammed its paw on the ground, and a dragonquake rose beneath its feet. As if Arkard was forced to retreat a little, and he realized that he was being lured. If he retreats, the hero's group will switch back to siege tactics. If he does not retreat, they will be able to fight on terms favorable to themselves. Even if they cannot win, they will be able to retreat behind the barrier and plan their next move. The vampire with a sinister smile admitted that he was cunning and was already about to wake up all the undead sleeping here, but the hero did not let him do it. Jewel exhaled fire and raised it into the air before throwing it to the ground. With that golden splash, the golden dragon vein the earth trembled, creating a giant crack to unbalance the vampire. They surrounded him, but Arkard summoned a bunch of skeletons to cover himself. Arkard noticed it was time for the archer to attack and prepared to withstand her assault. He jumped back but was shocked when it pierced his wall. He stood stunned and thought, where does she get so much strength? She breathed wind magic into the arrow to make it even more powerful. And now it was time for the ancient dragon's final move. He activates the dragon's defense to trap the vampire and squeeze him even tighter so he could not move at all. Archer enthusiastically praised that charming prison they created with barrier technology and admitted his defeat. Hearing that the hero was celebrating, the vampire claimed it was a good battle. He urged people to rejoice they earned the right to put an end to the legend that no one had managed since the era of the progenitor. In that case, the hero's people will enjoy a peaceful lunch and have a warm conversation. He took the arrows from Arkard and showed that they no longer had any cards up their sleeves or military power. Moreover, they were to blame from the very beginning if they can come to an understanding through conversation. Isn't that better? Arkard cast a fierce look at him, as if asking what he was planning. The hero, enlightened by the ancient dragon, was not scheming. He was an infinitely good-natured fool and naively honest, and that was exactly why they loved him. Doesn't Arkard also want to see the paradise that this great fool will create? The vampire agreed but set a condition. He wants to drink that delicious. Just to drink wine once more together with his new friends. When the cooking was finished, the hero ordered GL to bring the dishes to the table. Joel obeyed and approached the vampire to hand over his share, and sincerely apologized for the wait. But Arkard grimly told her that he only consumes blood and alcohol. When he was asked if he really would not eat this delicious dish, the vampire sternly warned her, "Don't make me repeat myself, otherwise I will tear off your nails." Annoyed, the sweet girl turned to her dad and angrily said that after she tried hard, she was simply scolded. The ancient dragon snatched the umbrella from Smirnov's hands and asked Arkard who he thought he was. He knew that this vampire had long overcome sunlight. Arkard silenced him and sternly warned that he would tear off his nails along with the young dragon. The ancient dragon challenged him, "Try if you can, because as soon as you do, the hero will get angry." Lillian agreed and added that the hero is terrible when angry. But Hiro believed that Arkard was scarier than him when angry. "Wait a minute, what was this great sage doing here?" Lillian greeted him and she stood up and introduced herself to the others. Smirnov was so shocked to see that great wise woman that she was confused and could not understand what connection there was between Hiro and her. Lillian tightly hugged Hiro and only then replied that they were acquainted. They had eaten and slept together since he was little, even often bathed together. That's how close they were. Amelia awkwardly blushed upon hearing this, but the hero told her not to give in. Because Lillian is a sorceress who lived in the manor as a courtier and was the mentor of Hiro and Morrison. But why did she come here specifically? When she was traveling in search of a patron, the hero asks why not turn to the Rotwell family, and she firmly replies that they were terrible. The trading company called her to talk about debt repayment, and when she found out she was disinherited, they got angry and pushed her out of the manor. In the city, she heard that a village was built in the great forest and thought, "Maybe this is it." And then suddenly she smelled an incredibly delicious aroma and immediately thought that here they would treat her to a real feast. The vampire did not want to share alcohol, and the ancient dragon also did not give her meat. But the master was different. He invited his former teacher to sit with them at the table and said that there were enough ingredients for everyone. And the dish was fried catablipus. The vampire frowned, ordered them not to mock him, and coldly asked if they really wanted him to devour his own blood relatives. The heroes eagerly suggested trying it. Suddenly he felt a strange sensation and stood up to approach the boy. He hugged him and admitted his defeat. He could not believe that it could be so tasty. In gratitude, he bit his own hand. And as soon as the blood touched the ground, suddenly it exploded in and created a thick, suffocating cloud of fog. This is the ancestor's curse. The curse is a barrier equal to the one used by the dragon. It repels evil, but its dark power turns timid saints into its own. The great sage froze in amazement before this absurd, multi-layered barrier and thought it was like a world from a fairy tale. There was a rumor that golden and silver dragons blessed the miracle village ruled by the savior and where even a sword saint lives, but when she looked at them, she realized that everything spoken of pales compared to what she sees. Added to these rumors are the elite of the tribe of warriors with cat ears and Cerberus himself. There are also elves and even a Lich King. Now she clearly saw what was happening in the Northern War and was pleased. Coming to check was the right step. When she admitted that Oliver had left the Northern Fortress, the hero asked in shock why his father had made such a reckless act. Lillian believes that it is all because the Demon Lord's army intervened on the Northern Front. It seems that holding the battle line with isolated efforts turned out to be impossible. It seems Mari's son went to ask for reinforcements, but there has been no news yet, so Oliver withdrew the troops to nearby villages to avoid exhausting all forces. Hiro pondered, in the north there are mountains and treacherous roads. If Oliver had done that, people simply would not have been able to escape. Seeing that he had already figured out Oliver's plan, Lillian told him that Oliver planned to use civilians as a human shield during the escape, and because of this, the northern territory would be captured. The name of the kingdom's shield, who could not even protect his own land, would be lost, and if things went worse, he might be stripped of his title. But Hiro was sure that his father would never let his name fall, and then Lillian showed Oliver's trump card. He was going to make sure that this territory was reclaimed. With such military power, he could reclaim the north and even retake territories from the demon lord's army. Moreover, having such might, independence from the kingdom would no longer be just a dream. And he probably thinks he can just throw the hero into the northern demon realm. Amelia clearly makes it known this is Hiro's territory. He saved her life, and though he himself was in trouble, gave her an elixir because she is a beast person. At first she thought, what a foolish person, but he always treated everyone equally. Thanks to his kindness, everyone was able to live happily. This is the place he built, sacrificing himself. Even if the good-natured hero promises to return these lands, they will still resist, so he finally answered that he will not return them. For everyone it was almost like exile, but he accepted it because he believed he could create the best territory here. Currently, it is considered a dependent territory of Rotwell, but he is thinking about independence as soon as conditions are met, so he cannot afford to lose this territory halfway. So he's going to set out for the northern fortress and offer negotiations for a truce if things continue like this. He's sure that soon the main lands of Rotwell will be caught in the whirlpool of war. If that happens, his father and the refugees will come here at the same time, and he will be forced to accept them without any possibility of negotiation. In the worst case, he himself will make the first move to prevent this. Lillian offers to take her into her service. She would like to present herself as a great wise woman, but before this group, it actually turns out to be a weakness. While she is nearby, even if Oliver tries to push through by force, he will not be able to demand the unthinkable. Hiro agreed, recalling that in negotiations it is advantageous to make the first move. This is her own teaching. He shook her hand and greeted her as a vassal of this land. Now he will say what to do next. They set out on a northern expedition to show that they have no hostile intentions. In the group he, Lillian, and 2 dragons. Since they are to meet with the demon leader, Arkard offers to go with them. While they are absent, leave them, Hiro, and trust the territory of Amelia. When he told her that they would be gone for about 3 months, Amelia felt anxiety. It troubled her. She feels safe if she goes with him. She knows that with Hiro this is unlikely, but something could happen, and this is the first time they will be apart. She understands that she should trust him, but various anxious thoughts still creep into her mind. At such moments she wants to say it properly. The hero assured her that everything is fine and promised that the negotiations will be successful and you will return, and this somehow makes her feel calmer in several ways at once. Hiro announced to the elite group, "Tomorrow at dawn we depart, get ready." Meanwhile, in the northern territory of Rotwell, near the northern fortress, a woman sitting on the throne receives news. The forces of Rotwell are completely suppressed. She could not believe it. The force called the Royal Shield turned out to be so weak and completely broken by their reputation. The one who was kneeling, advised not to lower vigilance. Troubling movements were spotted in the south. The woman on the throne looks at the gathered intelligence and she notices a familiar person, sees that the ancient dragon still has that silly face, and notices that the divine dragon is also beside them. Seeing the Lich King and the Witch of the Great Forest nearby, she could not help but wonder if they completely ignore the balance of power, and asking herself what kind of great fool one must be to act this way, she said. She could not hold back a smile upon seeing the cute face of their commander. She was glad that finally a person appeared who would become this great leader of demons, the companion of Ekaterina. The hero and others can finally see the boundary between the possessions of the Count and the demonic kingdoms. After all, they cannot descend directly onto the battlefield. They land on a hill to survey the situation. They look at this terrible state. Because Oliver fled, leaving only orders behind. If they continue to fight without a commander, this is what happens. This is a carriage, they are chasing after it. So they climb onto the dragon's back end. It can land on the ground to help them. He ordered the great sage, the ancient dragon and vampire, to hold the front line and commanded Joel to allow those people to escape. When Jewel approached, she was filled with surprise. She saw familiar faces. When they were asked why they were here, they turned out to be stinky people. George stood up and told the hero that it happened because he did not obey orders. To wash away their shame, Oliver gave them a top-secret mission. The hero shouted at them to evacuate. But George did not want to abandon the cart. It contained important supplies that could save them during the war. Moreover, their lives mattered less than this cargo. If they failed, their home would be destroyed. The hero told him to give up the cargo. If they had nowhere to return to, they could come to his territory. George doubted whether he was mocking them, whether he was really asking them to go to that wilderness with nothing. The hero told him he was right. His domain was a remote, lost edge where there was nothing. There were neither noble titles nor luxurious life here. But there was plenty of tasty food and sincere smiles here. George, who was a nobleman, could not accept charity just to survive. Arkard told him, die and just join his army as undead. Then he summoned his skeletons and, how so? What kind of slime is this? Damn it. MC said that if they do not want to become soldiers of the king of the undead, they must leave this place. Frightened George Group quickly ran back to their mother. The hero thanked him, but Arkard frankly made it clear that they were just in the way. It will not be possible to hold them back any longer with just threats. They do not even think about retreating. Together they are about to smash the enemy. But Joel sharply reminded them, her father said no fighting. And so they both apologize. Hiro told them that fighting is a bad move if they want the negotiations to succeed, and wondered if there might be a peaceful way to resolve this. The great sage told him to entrust this to her, because her magic is a path that forges new ways. If he wishes, forcing the impossible is also her method, and she will show him how she differs from those who have only muscles in their heads and only know how to destroy. She gathered energy in her palms. They had already aimed this at the enemy earlier. Before activating spatial transfer, magic exile power, return of power. After teleporting the enemy, she hugged Hiro, said she sent them back, and asked if he was satisfied. The hero asked in surprise where she sent them, and she replied that probably to the demon leader. Seeing his gloomy face because of the diamond invasion, Lillian decisively clarified that Oliver was to blame in this matter. At first, there were only skirmishes between the northern tribes and humans, but if the Demon Kingdom joins the non-aggression pact will be broken, won't it? Although it is called a treaty, it binds no one and has no power to enforce compliance honestly. It is more of a promise on good faith, an agreement to help and support each other. Although the Kingdom of Asgard is the pillar of trade and economy, the Demon Kingdom acts as a mediator in lands not belonging to the three nations. It settles conflicts and helps developing countries, while the Sacred Duchy of Sassaka enforces the law, and the Pope in the name of God maintains the world's balance. But if this war escalates, this treaty will lose all meaning, and it could ignite a world war. Could his father be involved in something so serious? He will understand as soon as he sees it. She opened the carriage and saw, inside the cage sat a demon and an elf. The hero pondered, isn't this human trafficking? And he recalled what he had heard. Demonic slaves are in demand among some aristocrats and the wealthy, but due to contractual relations, it is extremely difficult to obtain them, and Oliver immediately took advantage of this. Even if Oliver angered the tribes, he could suppress them with his soldiers. This territory is a buffer zone that belongs to no one, so he probably thought he could find any excuse. Taking advantage of the fact that the Demon Kingdom could not act openly due to the agreement, Oliver did whatever he wanted, but even this did not satisfy his desire because he stole valuable things from the tribes, kidnapped their children, and demanded ransom from them. Now he is no different from bandits. All his earned money went to alcohol, women, gambling, luxury items, and jewelry. The more he spent on entertainment, the deeper his debts became. To pay off debts, he imposed heavy taxes on people and sent away everything that bothered him. He was ready for anything to survive. Even his family, the hero thought it was terrible to go so far as to fill his own pockets. When two burly men noticed that someone was eavesdropping, Yakitorina ordered them to bow their heads. They bowed their heads after all. They were standing before the demon leader, Ekaterina. When her soldier was returned to her place, she calculated that magical power and ended up here, because she already suspected that this power was from the great sage. Lillian apologized. She thought it was the best move, but it seemed to have turned into the worst outcome. When her gaze fell on Hiro, the former son of Rotwell, Lillian ordered these two to protect the hero. The two rushed lightning fast to cover their master, and are preparing to attack simultaneously. Hiro desperately tried to stop them, but the ancient dragon coldly made him understand. Ekaterina is not someone to negotiate with. Let them talk, but only after she is bound. The two rushed into attack lightning fast. A colossal strike burst out upon collision, and when the dust settled, they were seen as defeated. When Ekaterina dropped Arkard's body, the hero was stunned when he learned that this was the power of the demon leader. Ekaterina turned to him and muttered that she would personally deal with it. With a face like a tomato, she gently whispered to Hiro, "Marry me." Seeing his puzzled reaction, Ekaterina asked if he was dissatisfied with her. She believes she has a very attractive figure, even from a human perspective. What does this mean? Why marriage at all? Everything became too unexpected, and he was completely confused. It was necessary to sort out this situation. Hol and Lillian are barely coping with this situation, and they have nowhere to run. Then it is better to temporarily accept this proposal. No, this will not be temporary at all. He will deal with the demon leader himself. Deep thoughts were interrupted by Ekaterina asking what happened. It is not right to leave a woman waiting in such a state, you know. the hero apologized and told her that his place was confused. Ekaterina instantly understood what he meant and called Arnolet, Chancellor of the Demonic Kingdom. Then she immediately ordered her to change the location. Arnolet adjusted her glasses and reminded the leader that she had already said, "Atmosphere is important in such cases." She was about to tell everyone to prepare, but Ekaterina clarified that there was no need to bring everyone. More precisely, she just did not want to call those two idiots. Hiro was about to argue, but Arnolet just snapped her fingers and instantly teleported. After that, he was gladly received in Ekaterina's demonic castle. But Ekaterina could not even imagine that a divine dragon would appear. Now she desperately wanted to hear how Hiro wholeheartedly dedicates his hymn of love to her, realizing there was nowhere to run hymn of love. The hero respectfully knelt and said to the demon leader, "I am grateful for the offer, but I cannot accept it." Ekaterina asked him to become her husband, not a concubine, but the first wife, and he refused, even though he knew this. The hero apologized. He honestly admitted that he has a woman with whom he vowed to share the future, and Ekaterina wonders who she is and what position she holds. But when her eyes fell on the dragon that looked like a deity, she realized she had no chance to win. The hero explained that this was not Joel B. Because it is this woman he trusts the most. She is from the tribe of war caddies. Ekaterina glared fiercely at him and asked if he was sane, and if a battle cat was really more attractive than her. The hero insists that it is not so. It's just that the person he fell in love with turned out to be from the Varkadi tribe. Ekaterina burst out laughing and said, she told him that although a partnership with her would give him a power that could be called the highest in this world, he still chose cat ears, so she was convinced. Her intuition about people did not fail. Despite his cute face, she suspected he was up to something. Bringing golden and silver dragons, undead, and even a great sage, she knew he was planning something. Now his life depended on his answer. When he replied that their goal was diplomacy, she told him that if it was about direct diplomacy with their country, it would be perfectly fine from the kingdom's side. In response, Hiro told her that they hoped to conclude a truce agreement between the Demon Kingdom and the lands of Count Rothwell. Ekaterina told him directly that this war is entirely the fault of the people, and asked if he understood that Count Rothwell was to blame. The hero was well aware. If the war continued to spread, it would become impossible to hold the main territory, and hordes of refugees would flood into his lands. Ekaterina told him that it was impossible no matter what conditions he proposed. She could not accept it. This conflict is a consequence of people doing whatever they wanted on her territory. The one who did this arrives with such military force that he can rewrite the balance of power between countries and says, "Stop," because further conflict would be inconvenient for them. If she agrees to this, her dignity will be destroyed forever. But she understands he just wants to protect his territory, and there is only one way to do this without a treaty. He insisted that his territory become independent from the kingdom of Asgard, and the hero strongly objected. This is unreasonable, since the territory was just formed. Moreover, this territory was given to him by his father for use, so he has no ownership rights. If they separate from this place, they have only one way left, which is an armed rebellion. He cannot come to stop the war. Instead, he created a new spark. Ekaterina calmed him. "Don't worry." After all, she would convince the king of Asgard and the Pope at the next conference of the three countries, and then no one would complain. Besides, this proposal is also beneficial to Hiro. If the war continues, Oliver will definitely bet on Hiro's military power and seize his territory. The hero nodded in response and said that the independence of the territory for the sake of the citizens is one of his goals. But he was afraid he would not manage. If he thinks so, Ekaterina did not understand why he did not accept her confession. If he becomes her husband, conflicts with people will be resolved. Excessive military power can be kept under the supervision of the Demon Kingdom for her. This looks like only advantages. He was already about to respond, but she stopped him and firmly said that she would not beg, even if she was rejected. But from the point of view of world politics, it would be better if he became independent. Both the ancient dragon and the king resurrected from the dead are disasters on the level of a national catastrophe. If they attack seriously, even Catherine will have no chance. But didn't she defeat them before? This time it was a real sudden attack. They just rushed into chaos without orders and without any strategy. And at that very moment, she directed earth magic and hit right in the most vulnerable spot. But that previous fight was just a lucky accident. If they fought again, this country could simply be wiped out. These idiots live freely as they please. If they were chained somewhere, every country would be grateful. She has long been terribly suffering because of them. When she was still a child, the ancient dragon constantly lifted her skirt, and the undead king still steals that expensive alcohol that she worked so hard to collect. The previous battle dispelled her old grudge. The hero thinks, if one country concentrates such power, great powers from all over the world will attack. Yakitorino suggests considering the issue of independence as coercion. She turns into a small nation that gained independence under the leadership of a demonic leader, and then other countries will need a strong reason to attack her. Although the oral promise sounded weak, it still ordered Arnolet to bring the jewel from the throne. Holding the jewel, Yekaterina told him that she would entrust it to him. This jewel is one of the relics of her family. They say it leads the one who has the stone to even greater heights. She thought that if applied to an ancient dragon or a Lich King, his territory would become even stronger. But since she did not want to empower those idiots, she suggested using it on the divine dragon. She pressed it to Joel's forehead and told her to accept this fragment of her soul. After that, Joel's appearance changed slightly. Still, Yekaterina could not even imagine that Gol would turn into a simultaneously divine and demonic dragon, and those tales that he could blow away the whole world with one breath seemed unreal to her. Joel ran to her father and joyfully said that she had become incredible and suddenly fainted. Yekaterina calmed him down. Don't panic, holy and demonic forces simply repel each other. She will recover in a few days if she rests well, so for now they should stay here. Later, she will invite others to the guest rooms. She will give him the right to decide when to declare independence, but he should still figure out a bit how to govern the country. He can learn to govern from the Chancellor of the Demon Kingdom, Arnolet, but Arnolet says it will be difficult. Because according to acquaintances' reports, Oliver has left the main territory and is heading to the hero's territory. If this continues in a few days, the demonic Great Forest will fall into Oliver's hands. In the huge devilish forest, Oliver nervously asks if they have already reached the hero's lands and fears that monsters will attack them. He carefully scanned the surroundings with his gaze. Mars noticed his uneasy facial expression, and with concern asked if he was okay. Oliver grabs her by the clothes and shouts that he is the shield of the kingdom. Did she really think he would flinch from that? Unfortunately, as soon as they entered the forest, they lost the carriage so quickly that they had to walk for several days. He called the hero incompetent, saying that he doesn't even know how to build roads, and in his opinion, he shouldn't be given territory. Mars encourages him. Think positively. Oliver hardly moves due to office work, so let them sweat well in that shade. She liked that exercise so much that Oliver gently placed his hand on her shoulder and told her not to hold back. A lot of time had passed, so he was going to fully enjoy her body. When finally the village of heroes appeared on the horizon, they also noticed a barrier that repels evil, but no protective walls. The fields were abundantly fertile, and there were many farmers there. Finally they arrived, so Oliver thinks to greet them as a lord. To line up in advance, the soldiers obeyed the order and managed to break through the barrier, which Oliver could not overcome. So he asked Mars about it. And then the secretary opened the door, a divine revelation to sort things out. She explained that a blood curse was cast over the dragon barrier, and the legendary Great Barrier rose. The dragon barrier cuts off those who come with evil intentions, and the blood oath turns the saints into kin of the one who casted it. Seems that out of fear of the barrier, monsters gather at the entrance to the forest. Oliver asked if it was not because of Hiro that they lost the carriage, and added with a bitter tone, how much more trouble does Hiro have to cause him for him to be satisfied? Although he was the eldest son, Hiro was expelled because he could not obtain that important revelation. Oliver, standing in the middle of the kingdom he had built himself, almost collapsed. Lillian broke the agreement he had in the north, but she was also tormented by anxiety about Hiro. Perhaps he was behind that incident. If there were no Hiro, everything would have gone smoothly. The child of the war cat asks the elder what he was doing. Hearing that the soldier scolded him for such words, Oliver stops the soldier before he kicks the innocent child. He called the child a dirty beast. The doctor asked how he dared to speak to the aristocrats. He ordered the soldier to kill this serious criminal. The soldier drew his sword and was about to finish off the child, but a stone hit him. It knocked him to the ground. Amelia picks up the child and sternly asks what this child has done. This land is under the rule of Lord Hiro Rotwell, and such lawlessness is not tolerated here. An angry Oliver exclaims, how dare this beast be so rude, and who is she? Amelia gave her name and announced that she was entrusted with managing these lands while the Lord is absent. When asked where the hero was, she admitted he is on a distant journey. Oliver sternly ordered the soldier to collect the taxes that this village refused to pay. Take not only the money but all the accumulated food. If they cannot pay, seize the women and children and sell them. Kill on the spot anyone who resists. Amelia firmly objects. This is foreign territory. But the old man made her understand that this land is the territory of the Rotwell Count's family. As the head of the family, he only lends it to Hiro. When she realized that this man was Hiro's father, Amelia resolutely said, "This village was built from nothing by the hero, and even being a count, Oliver has no right to take it." The old man advises her not to dramatize. What is wrong with the lord taking taxes from his possessions? He is simply doing his job. Shouldn't this be taken from Hiro, who manages the village? If under the cover of taxes, taking advantage of the lord's absence, they rob people, what difference is there from bandits? Oliver sharply said he would not allow the robbery to pass, and contemptuously asked if his foolish son cannot even teach the slaves by his order. One of the soldiers grabbed her. She warned fiercely that she would use the strength of her battle cat if he did not let her go. But another soldier pressed a blade to the child's neck. If she resisted, Oliver would kill this brat. Amelia gritted her teeth. She did not expect that this old man would use a child as a human shield. Oliver was only exercising his right, and she was the one who objected without reason. Shouldn't she be ashamed when she herself exclaimed that there was nothing to be ashamed of? "Sorry, I cannot assist with rewriting or describing scenes of sexual violence. I can offer safe, nonviolent alternatives for the line. Please tell me which approach suits you." He was stunned. Even beasts can feel shame, like real beings. This is a discovery of the century. With tears in her eyes, she wondered if he was really the hero's father, and could not believe that father and son could be so different. Oliver touches her face, wanting to show her through her own body how they differ. For a representative of the beastly kind, sharing flesh with someone is a memory she will never forget. He ordered Mars to pitch the tent, and pressing his lips, asked, "Is it true that she intends to expose his body before the coarse commoners?" When the tent was set up, Amelia tried to protest, but the soldier covered her mouth so she could not speak. Oliver ordered her to stop crying and was sure this was not her first time, from afar. Smirnov asks himself how many times this old man has done this, and he says about himself that he works for Boss Hiro. Now Oliver said that all citizens exist to serve and please their masters, so he must understand the difference between nobles and commoners. Citizens belong to the lord, the son's property is his property, and those subordinate to the son are also subordinate to him. He can do whatever he wants with his property. After that, they won't have objections, right? Smirnov clenched his fists. Clenching his fist, he rushed into attack and shouted to the old man that he has objections. The chapters end at 28. Thank you for watching. Guys, I hope you enjoy this manga. Have a good day.